talk about that a lot at other tracks, but here the speeds are so high, over 200 miles an hour entering these corners. These cars waltz around this racetrack. And when you get up on that wheel like Carl Edwards does, I mean, it's a handful. It can be really, really freaky scary, I got to tell you.
Larry, one reason that Jimmie Johnson has won twice as many nighttime races as anyone is his feedback. He gives Chad Knaus such good information on what the car is doing that the car ends up better at the end of the race than it is at the beginning. How crucial is that tonight?
It's going to be really important. There's a lot on that driver's shoulders, but so much in the feedback that he gives that team and that crew chief as to how this track is going to change. And we know it's going to change. It's going to cool down, it's going to gain grip, and it's going to get much faster. The fastest this racetrack will be at the end, because the transition into the nighttime here, even after 20 races, is a complete unknown.
So we'll go from shade to twilight to nighttime, which, as Darrell's fond of saying,
is my favorite time. I like the boogie.
Here's the starting lineup. First career pole for David Ragan. Carl Edwards starts on the outside. He's the biggest winner here. Clint Bowyer, best start of the season. Matt Kenseth, third Roush car in the top 4. Regan Smith, track best starts in all 7 races here this season. And Jimmie Johnson, Marcus Ambrose, his best Texas start, and Joey Logano. Greg Biffle and Kurt Busch, both past winners in Texas. That's your top 10. Have a look through the rest of the starting lineup as Darrell dials up the pole sitter.
David Ragan, it's DW. Got a copy?
Sure, I got it to DW.
Buddy, you got your first pole here tonight. Can you get your first win?
Absolutely. Our UPS team has done a good job all weekend. We've got a car that can do it. Our biggest challenge is just going to be adjusted on this thing as the lights come on and the sun goes down. So it should be a fun 500-mile race.
What are you guys anticipating? What do you think will happen here tonight with it being under the lights?
Well, the track's going to be very fast here the last 100 laps of the race, so we just got to, manage our car the first part of the race to make sure we're in position there at the end to capitalize on a good fast car. So we just need to be in position those last 100 laps, and we'll be ready to roll.
All right, young man, we're all pulling for you up here. Good luck and have a safe race.
10-4, thank you guys.
Only one car missed the race. Travis Kvapil not quick enough to make the show. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with a full flavor, ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. We're ready to race in Texas. Let's get down to pit road, beginning with Chris Devoda.
Well, Mike, how in the world do you win 2 races in a row when you've only led 7 laps? Remember all those nicknames DW was talking about? One of them for Kevin Harvick is the closer, and those closing techniques are catching on. Kevin Harvick received a note from a woman this week who said her 4-year-old said, "Mom, drive like Kevin Harvick. Wait for the finish line and then pass all the cars." Matt Yoakum.
Krista, Denny Hamlin's chasing 3 in a row. Moments ago, he told me his biggest concern tonight, not the change on his pit crew, but the huge wind gust down the backstretch, a huge tailwind that carries so much more speed into turn 3. It's almost like passing a semi. It unsettles the race car and makes you guess a little bit on your line. Dick Berggren?
Well, Jimmie Johnson's nickname is 5-time, as in 5 consecutive national championships, something nobody else has ever done. But the number 2 has crept into his record book here in Texas. The last 3 spring races in a row, Johnson has finished 2nd. His best finish so far this year, 2nd. But I saw him moments ago, and he smiled the smile of a confident man who thinks he's going to win the race tonight. Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, Kyle Busch comes into here as the points leader. Now, he has 7 NASCAR victories on this Texas Motor Speedway, but never in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. He aims to change that tonight. Talked to his crew chief, Dave Rogers, moments ago, and he said that they have the car very consistent and very raceable for tonight's 500-miler. Mike?
Thanks, Steve. Dick, inquiring minds want to know, did NASCAR check the spoiler angle on your usual hat and confiscate it?
Well, the key to this whole thing is the work we had to do to get the hat on, and it's all bolted to my head to keep it there during this windy night.
Attaboy. Don't become the flying nun tonight, all right? It's windy out there. Gusts to 40 miles an hour. Rio, a movie that'll bring the world to its feet, opens this Friday from the creators of Ice Age, Anne Hathaway, Jesse Eisenberg, Jamie Foxx, will.i.am. In Rio. You'll enjoy it. Great animated feature from Fox. As we're ready to go racing in Texas, The sun sets behind the grandstand as we get ready to go 334 laps. Pit road speed, that's been a topic of conversation, 45 miles an hour. Fuel window 50 to 54 laps.
And we need to note, everywhere we go, whatever this advertised pit road speed is, NASCAR will give them up to 5 miles per hour. In other words, here you can run up to 49.999.
Just like you expect the trooper to do for you on the highway.
Exactly.
Little 5 mile an hour leeway.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate any tire problems. We've had no issues at all so far this weekend. That's good news. These guys should be able to run a fuel stop without any issue at all.
A Texas-sized crowd on hand. Pre-race estimates 160,000. Most all the front stretch grandstand, except some places down toward turn 1, are pretty darn full. It's a nice sight to see as the field rolls off turn 4 and heads for the start line.
Well, I said it before. I hope these boys have got their work clothes on tonight, because it's going to be fast and furious. And to get them started, here we go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing Texas style, boys. Boy, a lot of debris and dust flying up down that back straightaway from all the wind blowing.
Clint Boyer tried to have a look at David Ragan. He got a good jump on the start, but Ragan held the bottom and holds the lead for lap 1.
No question that 6-car, Larry, is fast for 1 lap. We'll see what it can do here over the long haul.
David Ragan has been fast all year long. Can he close the deal here?
Jimmy Johnson holding everybody up out of turn 2 in the high lane there. He might have got a bump from Joey Logano there.
These guys are pretty aggressive on this start. I noticed that. I think Boyer actually was in the back of the 6-car on the start of the race.
And Boyer falls to 3rd. Carl Edwards to 2nd. Kenseth 4th, looking for 3rd. Has room under Boyer. And 3rd place changes hands. 3 of the Roush Fenway Fords are now the front 3.
Kenseth has 3 top 10 finishes coming in here. Larry's getting better and better, but don't like that on the grill right there. I think that'll blow off, though.
All right, let's show you what happened to Jimmy Johnson up in turns 1 and 2, the 48.
Ooh, he gets loose. He gets a wobbling just a little bit. Logano's there.
Yeah, there was a little contact. And 4 wide in the backstretch.
That could have just been, there's a lot of wind off that corner over there. Don't know that they made contact, but he got mighty close.
And we have seen this for the last 2 days here. As the track cools down and gains grip, the driver actually gets loose, which basically means the rear of the car, the rear tires are not gripping the racetrack.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about in the opening, Larry. These things just, they waltz around this joint. Back end swinging in and out and in and out. And of course, when it does, driver's got to hang on to that wheel. And this cat is on a mission in the 17 car and the 99 here, 2 teammates.
They fight for 2nd place. And up to the outside. Matt Kenseth could not complete the pass. He does the crossover, trying to take the low groove from Carl Edwards for 2nd. Edwards has to give him room, but it'll be Edwards off the corner. Matt.
Mike, there was debris on Kenseth's grill. They told Carl Edwards just to check up a little bit so the 17 could close, change that air turbulence, and let that debris fly off. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, it's gone, Matt. Just as soon as he ran up behind Carl, it flew off.
David Ragan has led the first 5 laps of this race. The man who almost won this year's Daytona 500 got a penalty for making a lead change before the restart. Green flag took him out of contention. Battling back, he's been fastest in practice 2 weeks in a row, and here won the pole.
And he is a great young man. Got a great attitude, great personality. His team loves him. He just needs some luck, man. He needs to finish one of these things with a W if he could.
Riding here with A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 car. He's one of our biggest movers up at the front of the pack. A.J. started 15th. He's already cracked the top 10 up to 9th. He's the one that said this place is freaky fast.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch on the bottom of Regan Smith. And with him, A.J. Allmendinger in the 43.
Boy, Mike, already, Larry, the guys are already rim riding this joint. And we've only had 7 laps, and they're already looking for grip.
See Regan Smith there in the 78 car. Regan qualified 5th. He has the best average starting position of all of the drivers so far in 2011.
And you heard that engine up off the corner there. And the driver, he wants to mat it, but it just doesn't have the grip for him to do that.
Now Smith's average start was 5.8, and he qualified 5th here to bring that average even lower. Jeff Burton trying to make a little noise. He is a 2-time winner here. He and Denny Hamlin, who swept the races here last year. Hamlin right behind him.
Jeff Burton in that 31 car, he actually won the inaugural race here in 1997. Remember, it was here in the fall that he and Jeff Gordon had the scuffle on the back straightaway after a crash.
Denny Hamlin's number 11 working its way toward the front. He started 23rd. He's picked up 4. Regan Smith, Kyle Busch, who started 11th in the number 18. And caution flies on the speedway. Front straightaway. Smoker down in turn number 1, and that's the 37 who started scratch Tony Raines going up in smoke to bring out the first yellow flag of the night after 9 laps.
Little breather. Whew.
There's Raines trailing the field going up in smoke off turn 4.
This could be a big hit for Tony Raines, that 37 car, because every week the top 35 in owner points are locked in. He was 35th, actually tied with the 36th place driver, but because he had the best finish so far, he was locked into the show. Big hit for him.
Yeah, he just became unlocked.
David Reagan, competing in his 9th Texas Sprint Cup race, had led only 1 lap in the previous 8. He's led every lap tonight.
We may see some drivers roll the dice here and possibly take right side tires only, but with the give up, how much grip you lose even in 9 laps, I think pit road will be a busy place.
Yeah, I think you come down here now, look at these tires, get a little information here, build up and so forth, make an adjustment. Got a long way to go.
Looks like everybody's coming. The yellow line is where you must commit. Kurt Busch stays out. Most everyone else is in. Dick.
And Matt Kenseth is the first in, Mike. He has got the pit stall that is closest to turn 4, so he has an easy entry, but he'll have cars in front of him. Already, Kenseth's gone. Matt.
The game plan for Carl Edwards, they're going for 2 tires. They're going to go on the jack. A slight adjustment. He said the car was a little free on exit, but good, Steve.
Same game plan for David Reagan in the 6 car. He says his car is just a little free on exit, right side tires for David Reagan.
There's some action on pit road.
And around goes Dave Blaney. Got turned around on pit road. He'll have to get back into his pit stall before they can service this car. Every which way.
Wow. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car there, ducking in his pits. There's
Right
what
there.
happened right there to Dave Blaney. Looked like Tony Stewart in a 14 car got into him.
Got into him hard too. A lot of damage to the 36 car.
Well, this is what happens when everybody is still on the lead lap and everyone tries to pit at the same time.
That is a lot of damage on the right front fender of Tony Stewart's car.
Well, if Kevin Harvick's going to make it 3 in a row, he's going to have to overcome a penalty for a right side tire violation on his pit stop.
Not the way you want to start your night by any means. By Tony Stewart, that's 2 contenders with problems.
So what could have happened to that right side tire, Larry?
Well, but you have to, when you change the right side tires before the car leaves the pit box, you have to get those tires back to the inside of the pit box. Let's take a look here. There you see the right rear tire there. There it is right there. And you can see it's not even close to being back to the inside of the pit box before Kevin Harvick in the 29 leaves.
But he had to back up, and they couldn't get the tire between he and the car behind him. There wasn't enough room, so I don't know on that one.
No, it wasn't.
I cut him some slack.
David Ruderman behind him did nothing wrong. He exited his pit, but Harvick was too close to the car in front, felt he had to back up, but according to the rule, should not have left until that tire was back.
I guess a foul is a foul, right?
There you go. Krista.
Greg Biffle, also one of the drivers to take 2 tires. Greg Irwin is crew chief on the radio right now, telling him who are the guys who stayed out, who are the guys who took 2, who are the guys who took 4. Right now, they're not exactly thrilled. They lost some positions on that stop, but they have one of the best pit crews in the business. They also made a slight right side adjustment. Greg said his car is feeling a little pivoty right now.
Thanks, Krista. 3 drivers did not stop. They will lead them to the restart. Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Andy Lally. Our UPS logistics of the race. Don't look back. Something's going to be gaining on you. You run flat out from start to finish here at the fastest track in NASCAR. And if you ease up, if you decide to ride a while, you're going to be laps down.
Speaking of fast, find the fast lane. We've already seen it in the first 10 laps. If it's better on the bottom, run the bottom. If it's better on the top, get up there against that wall.
I like to manage your assets. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of members on your team. Some drivers want to take it all upon themselves. Car not right, they overdrive it, wreck it. Car not right, they get upset and start fighting with their crew chief. Listen to the spotter. He'll help you find the right line. Listen to the crew chief. Communicate. He'll help you fix the car. And then use your pit crew and pit road to gain spots.
Well, we saw how crazy pit road was with all those cars still on the lead lap trying to pit at once. Cars that pitted early trying to get out. Cars late in line trying to get in. And we listened in on Jeff Gordon.
Wow, that was a crazy pit road right there. Yeah, 10-4. After I saw it, I was like, man, we should have just stayed out. I told you to drive through.
Here's a look at it. Coming and going. Traffic jam.
Watch what happens when almost all the field is on pit road at one time, doing 2 tires and so forth.
I think that's the big key. Changing just 2 right side tires like that. A lot of these drivers were leaving their pit boxes before some had even got to theirs.
Tony Stewart has made a second stop to pull out that fender that he damaged when Dave Blaney got turned around. Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski, along with Andy Lally, are still on the tires with which they started the race. Busch elects the outside lane for the restart. Keselowski alongside. Reagan with Lally. Edwards with Kenseth. Ambrose and Kyle Busch. Here we go.
Well, that 71 car of Andy Lally, he's in the way, man, with those old tires.
For the lead, teammates. Roger Penske's Dodges. Keselowski on the inside in blue. Busch on the outside in yellow and red.
And Larry, there's going to be some guys watching this right here. We had about 10 laps on these tires. And well, some of these crew chiefs are going to say, hey, these cars look pretty good with 10 laps on them.
Yeah, this will be a great science project for all the drivers.
And you heard Alan Gustafson tell Jeff, so maybe he should have just stayed out. He may really feel that way if these guys here can hold their own for a while.
Look at the high line right there, Lally.
Yeah,
everybody trying to get past. He restarted third, Darrell, but didn't have the speed at the corner exit to hold him back.
Matt Kenseth and he made some contact down in turn 1, Mike, as they took the green flag. I don't know if it hurt Kenseth's car or not, but pretty serious.
Truex in the 56 and the 21 Trevor Bayne trying to tiptoe past Andy Lally and a bunch of hungry hounds behind them. Looks like everybody's going to get through okay.
And that's a new car for that 71 bunch. That's a Ford this week. They've been running a Chevrolets.
Now here's what happened. Watch the 17 of Matt Kenseth behind Lally. Almost goes to the grass to get by, and Lally thought he had the bottom. He didn't.
We were on the verge of being 4 wide going down into turn 1 on that restart.
Pretty good contact. I don't know how much damage it's going to do to that 17, but they hit pretty hard right there. Oh, you can see the whole right side of the 17 scraped up.
Dodge Chargers at the front of the field. Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch, the other Dodge in the race, the Fast Five. Dodge Robbie Gordon, 36th. 18 laps complete. 3 different leaders. And David Reagan, our pole sitter in the UPS number 6 Ford, trying to fight his way back to the front. Brad Keselowski out front in Texas. Look at the huge crowd on hand at Texas Motor Speedway from our aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. To get the most sports in HD, call 1-800-DirecTV. You're watching Brad Keselowski lead His Penske Dodge teammate Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth hunting the lead on the bottom side.
Look at Brad Keselowski. He is a winner in Sprint Cup, and only his 5th start 2 years ago had that controversial win. He and Carl Edwards wrecked coming to the start-finish line at Talladega back in May of 2009.
We had a good run here last night, Larry. He ran second to Carl, and he said he had a good car here all weekend. So here comes the 22 looking to the inside here.
First laps that Keselowski has led since the season opener in Daytona, where he led 9 of the 200 laps.
It's a little edgy right here, boys. It's hard to get off that corner. See that 22 kick out. You pick up a big push as you exit that corner when you're underneath somebody, and then the back end snaps.
They both have their hands full of Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. I think this is where the 4 fresh tires prevail. If you get any kind of a run at all, off after changing just 2 right sides, it's this far after that caution is out.
Yeah, and it looked like that contact with the 17 to 71 on that restart doesn't look like it hurt the 17 at all. He's running pretty darn good right now.
Well, Kenseth is good into the corner, but those Dodges are pulling his Ford off the corner for now.
And Brad Keselowski, we were watching during commercial break, where he's so strong, he's able to drive that thing down in the corner, and it sticks for him.
22, Kurt Busch gets that run off. When you come off high of the corner where you got a lot of momentum, a lot of straightaway speed, and he's able to pull up on the back of the 2 car and clear the 17. Here comes the 17 back on the bottom.
It could be 3 wide exiting turn 4.
We got 3 drivers running 3 different grooves, but they come back together coming off the corner.
Merge. Got that merge sign down there.
No yield sign.
No yield.
Just merge.
Hope you saw it.
All this has allowed David Ragan to close. He's the 4th place car. And Greg Biffle has climbed to 5th with Edwards 6th, Boyer, Ambrose, Allmendinger, and Kyle Busch the top 10. Here we come again. Oh, and Kurt Busch gets just the least bit loose off the corner.
Yeah, when you're down there, when you're down in that hole digging, when you come out of there under power, the front will start to push. You'll put an extra little wheel into it, and then the back will snap around.
And Brad Keselowski in the 2.
When you run that lane, they don't climb over you in the center. You actually pulled ahead of both the 22 and the 17 that lap.
That's exactly what I was about to point out right there, is when he moves up the racetrack like Darrell was talking about, you get that good run off the corner. You can see it right there off turn 4.
A couple of drivers used that high lane to good advantage during qualifying here yesterday.
Well, they really didn't. I hadn't seen that here ever. I assumed it was the wind, and I think if you look, these guys are running low in 1 and 2, but that wind down that back straightaway is pushing them up the bank for a lot of these guys.
Great 3-way battle for the lead. 30 laps in, 10% distance. North of Fort Worth, Texas. Now Kenseth has position on the inside of Kurt Busch, and Matt will take 2nd place.
I think Kurt said, okay, you're a little quicker than we are. We know you got tires. I'm going to go ahead and let you clear.
Darrell, I'm pretty impressed with Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch, how good their car is staying on those 2 right side tires. But the downside, if we stay green, Krista, the 2 and the 22 will have to come to pit road in about 18 to 20 laps for fuel.
Right now, Brad Keselowski telling his team, I'm just a little bit tight in 1 and 2, but not bad in 3 and 4. They just came on the radio and said, in 3 and 4, Brad, you are showing them.
I think what he just did, he's been running the bottom pretty good around in 1 and 2. He just moved to that high line off of turn out of 1 and 2 down there, and he's been running high in 3 and 4, and that's paying off for him. Let's see if that opens up the gap on Kenseth any.
Matt Kenseth of the 17 fires it in the low groove.
Yeah,
up to the rear wheel, but no closer.
Yeah, Kenseth's a bottom feeder right now. He's not going to come up off that bottom, doesn't look like it.
We certainly know Matt Kenseth is hungry for a Sprint Cup Series win. It's been over 2 years since he's been to victory lane.
And this is a great track for him. He likes this place. He's coming in here with some momentum. Probably would have been a good pick for tonight.
I know.
I'm just saying, Larry. I'm just saying.
As Kenseth battles Keselowski for the lead. Joe Nemechek and J.J. Yaley have both taken their cars to the garage. Whatever Tony Raines' problem was that brought out the first caution, it was not a blown engine. Raines is back racing 3 laps down.
You know, Mike and Darrell have been coming here since 1997. We've been racing here twice a year, I think, since 2004, 2005. This is about as good a side-by-side racing I've seen early in the race, I think, that I can remember here at Texas.
Well, not everybody's having a fun day. Jimmy Johnson started 6th, and Dick, he has fallen to 20th. What's up?
Well, it's better than where he was, Mike. He was 27th a few laps ago, so he's picked up half dozen cars since the pit stop. The car was loose from the drop of the green flag. On the pit stop, he took 4 tires. That let everybody who took just 2 tires get on the track ahead of him. So Johnson restarted well back. The car is still loose, but better.
Thanks, Dick. Kenny Schrader goes a lap down to Brad Keselowski. We've completed 36 of 334 laps in Texas.
Wow.
The 20th Sprint Cup Series race here at Texas Motor Speedway. Here's how 2 top Chevy drivers compare head-to-head over the years. Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, 1 win apiece. But Gordon has led 2.5 times, almost 3 times as many laps as Mark. Chevy also takes on competition off the track. Watch the 2011 Chevy Silverado HD go head-to-head with the competition at Chevy.com. HDTOHD. Steve, how about an update on Jeff Gordon?
Mike, he's struggling right now, plain and simple. He said the car is so loose in that he gets it sideways. His crew chief, Alan Gustafson, told me today, although they're good on the short tracks, they just haven't figured out the right package for Jeff Gordon yet. In fact, they ran setup very similar to Mark Martin's early this season. They've had to rebuild some cars because of that. Jeff Gordon just does not like the same setup that Mark ran with Gustafson last year.
Well, just think about this. Steve, last year, early on in the year, Mark Martin and those guys struggled with the setup on that car. They got their arms around it at the end of the year, but they had some problems last year.
Keselowski and Matt Kenseth back and forth at the front.
One more time just to set the stage as Matt Kenseth in that 17 goes all the way to the white line. Brad Keselowski, our leader in the 2, his teammate Kurt Busch, the 22, they'll have to beat a pit road probably in about 8 to 10 laps, if not a little sooner for fuel. They have not pitted yet.
Andy Lally is, in the wall is the number 34 of David Gilliland. The Gander Mountain car has a hard hit, and that'll put us under caution for the 2nd time this afternoon.
Certainly not a break for David Gilliland. That is one tore-up race car, but that's exactly what Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch, because everyone will be on pit road now for 4 tires.
And a tough weekend for Front Row Motorsports.
We're done.
One car failed to make the race, and the other is headed for the garage.
Well, that definitely was a right front tire. Now, I'm not sure what caused it, but had the look of a right front tire. You can see it's certainly down there.
Second caution of the evening. Gilliland to the garage. J.J. Yaley and Joe Nemechek had both been in the garage. They're now both back out on the track.
That happened on corner entry, so we caught up with it about middle of the corner there, but saw sparks.
That's a hard lick because you are carrying the mail, as you've well noted, driving down in that corner.
Yeah, you're over 200 miles an hour into that turn.
So Gilliland's race ends 45 laps in. Brad Keselowski will lead them on to pit road. Remember, he and his teammate Kurt Busch have not been to pit road yet tonight. Dick Berggren.
Matt Kenseth will pit out of the 2nd position. He described a variety of places where his chassis could behave better on the racetrack. The crew is going to just do some minor changes. Krista.
Brad Keselowski says it's not that his car is that good. He is making up for it by driving his butt off, and those were his words. He said the clean air being out in front is definitely helping. Matt?
The pit strategy move got Kurt Busch the track position they needed. Now they need an adjustment. He says the car just does not turn early enough when he needs it to. Steve?
Matt, David Ragan saying the track is starting to change. He said, I need you to snug this car up just a bit. So 4 tires, they'll fire them on for David Ragan and make a small chassis adjustment.
The race off pit road. That's Matt Kenseth out in front.
Real winner on that was Greg Biffle in that 16 car. Looked like Brad Keselowski in the 2 was actually blocked in a little bit by Montoya in the 42.
Working the second caution of the night, 47 laps in here in Texas.
Hello. Hey, man.
Where things calm down just a bit here, working the second caution flag of the night. Have a look here near the top of your screen. Pow.
David Rudiman in the 0-0, Darrell, he just turned dead right out of his pit box.
He really did. I mean, he didn't have a good angle to get out, and he just drove straight out. Here's Harvick. Once again, he'd got nowhere to go.
0 for 2 on pit stops.
He's having a great day with the exception of pit road.
But pit road has been rather interesting tonight, hasn't it?
Quite a bit of damage on Joey Logano's car, attempting to fix that fender. They had too many men over the wall. He will start tail end on this restart of the longest line. And Andy Lally, who had made a pit stop under green, he was one of those cars that didn't stop on the last caution, and he gets the free pass.
You know, now that, we talked about Barabon, the tape they put on situations like the 20 car Harriers fender. Now they have Barabon with metal in it.
Wow.
With aluminum in it. So it actually is like putting a piece of aluminum, pop riveting a piece of aluminum over a situation like that.
How about that? All right, we're getting to restart. Here's tonight's Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. Roush Fenway drivers swept the front row in time trials. First time one team has done that at Texas. Ford's won 7 of the first 10 races here and lead all manufacturers with 9 wins. In 1971, NASCAR raced on the half-mile paved Meyer Speedway in Houston. They ran Texas World Speedway in the late 70s into the 80s, and we've been here at Texas Motor Speedway since '97. Texas World Speedway up in College Station, and we're here just north of Fort Worth.
Now, there was a little bit of concern about what sun starting to race in the sunlight and then going to dark. You can see there, Junior just had a tear off on over his shield. He just removed that, so he's ready for the nighttime.
A little bit of sunshine over in turn 3. That'll be the last of it for today. 4 cars took the wave around. Yaley, Rudiman, Rains, and Nemechek. We're ready for the restart, completing 51 laps. Kenseth, Biffle, Bowyer, Ragan, Kurt Busch, and Brad Keselowski.
Boy, Greg Biffle in the 16 got a lot better run than I would anticipate on the bottom off turn 2.
Well, 4 fresh tires, that's probably the reason why. But that cat was looking for this race. He had it circled on his calendar. Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Thought he should have won this race last year. Had a shifter problem, but he's out front. He is a happy camper.
50 laps in. Big track Saturday night. How about a NASCAR on Fox? Crank 'em up. Greg Biffle is driving it like he stole it. He's jumped out to a 0.4 of a second lead here with 54 laps complete, and he has two wingmen. Kenseth in second, Reagan third, are both Biffle's teammates.
And this is a Greg Biffle racetrack. His kind of track, man. Stand on the gas and work that wheel.
When Biffle won here in 2005, he led 219 laps. Last fall finished 5th after leading more than that.
Larry, these early cautions, good news for guys that their cars wasn't working right or handling right. They've had a chance to make some adjustments, like the 18, Steve.
Yeah, DW, they just made some adjustments to the 18. And in Kyle's comment, he said it's just a lack of overall grip. He says, I feel like I'm not in the racetrack at all.
Well, and one would anticipate that as this track cools down, that both ends of the race car should gain some grip. But the question is, how much will the balance, front and rear, go off as it cools down?
At 17th place, Denny Hamlin, who swept both races here last year. Matt?
Interesting night so far for Denny Hamlin, Mike. After the first restart, he told Mike Ford, his crew chief, something was amiss with the motor. When Mike asked for further diagnosis, he said it just had a different pitch. He swapped ignition boxes, hasn't mentioned anything since. All he's talked about, the car is just way free. You see him on the bottom, he cannot run up top at this juncture.
Well, he probably has every right to be super sensitive because that team has had more motor issues this year than in a long time, if ever.
Well, and Jeff Hammond talked about that in the pre-race. This place is probably the toughest on engines because of the RPM and 500 miles. We got a battle for 11th here with A.J. Allmendinger in the 43. Another one of those Richard Childress cars. A lot of drivers in the garage here told me that they felt like that Paul Menard in that 27 would have a good run tonight.
Just quickly on Denny Hamlin, a lot of times you get a cracked header or a tailpipe maybe a little bit. It'll give you an odd sound up in the cockpit of the car, make you think something's wrong with your engine. Take a little time to get adjusted to that. And we got a battle for the lead here, and here goes Kenseth back to the front.
Second time Matt Kenseth has led tonight as he takes the lead from his Roush Fenway teammate, Greg Biffle. How about the Biff? Krista.
Mike, one of the reasons that Kenseth was able to take the lead right there, Greg just radioing in that his car is just getting a little bit loose. But you guys mentioned that he remembers this race last fall and how he almost won. Trust me, this pit crew, the pit bulls, they remember too. They most certainly did not lose any positions on that first stop. They have gained positions on both of the stops they've made tonight. They are gunning for this win.
Now, remember what I said in the opening, manage your assets. Right now, that's what Greg Biffle's doing. Okay, I can't carry this car by myself. I got to have my crew do something to it. My spotter just told me I'm going to let the 17 go. So he's managing his assets right now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're battling with Paul Menard. Those two Chevys fighting for 12th place. And Steve Jr. has gained 15 spots since the start of this race.
You know, Mike, I've heard a lot of guys talk about needing grip at both ends of the racetrack, as we mentioned a moment ago, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. says his car feels pretty good. He's a little bit loose getting in, but again, his comment is feels pretty good right now.
And I can hear him saying that, Steve. Yep, feels pretty good. Pretty good.
Based on your votes, tonight's Pizza Hut fan favorite is Jeff Gordon in the 24. See how he's doing. 25th place right now for Jeff, who started 32nd, got shuffled way back on that first set of pit stops, and has been slowly climbing toward the front since.
You know, back to Dale Earnhardt Jr., we just got the report from Steve on him back in the 13th spot. 11 years ago, this is where he got his very first Sprint Cup Series win as a rookie that year.
A lot of folks looking to Junior for success here because of that, Larry. Others are saving that pick one more week for when we go to Talladega.
Oh, yeah, he loves Talladega.
Well, a lot of people said, why didn't he spin Harvick out and win that race? How would you like to stand in victory circle and you're Dale Earnhardt Jr. and have to make an excuse for winning a race? That's not Junior. That's not how he races. I was very proud of the way he raced that race last week.
Especially sitting on a 99 race winless streak.
Matt Kenseth the leader over Greg Biffle, David Reagan, Clint Bowyer, Kurt Busch. 9 laps complete in Texas. Matt Kenseth has led 13 of them. Brad Keselowski led 32 earlier. Greg Biffle now a 2.5 back. David Ragan 2.5 back. So a good jump for Biffle, who started 9th tonight. David Ragan, after winning the first pole of his career, led the first 10 laps. He runs in 3rd.
See Clint Boyer there in the 33 car at the bottom of the racetrack. Had a dismal start to 2011, but comes into Texas with 2 top 10 finishes right there in the top 5 right now.
Matt?
Mike, what a difference about 6 months make for Kurt Busch last fall here in November. They had to turn it into a test session. They even changed shocks on one pit stop because they were so far off on the balance. Right now, he's running in 5th. The car, very slippery. He says a lot of grip issues on this racetrack, but his big issue right now, the center of the corner in 1 and 2. Just will not turn.
I like Carl Edwards. You know, he won the race here last night. I think that's going to pay off, Larry. And I know last night his car really got strong as the night went on. Maybe he learned something for tonight.
Marcus Ambrose in 7th. He's been a top 10 car all day. And right with him is Kyle Busch. Hasn't yet made his presence felt at the lead, but I think that time's coming.
I don't care whether you're a fan or not. What happened to him last night was it was disheartening. He and Carl were racing hard against each other, and the car blew a tire in front of him. Carl squeezed by. Kyle didn't make it.
Nowhere to go. AJ Allmendinger told us just before he qualified yesterday on speed, he said, I go down in turn 1 and just shut my eyes.
He did. That was funny.
But you know what? He started top 15 and he's running top 10.
Look behind him, Brad Keselowski sitting there in 10th after qualifying 27th. But Krista, that strategy call early in the race has paid off.
Yeah, Larry Mack, you gotta love the way he drives a race car, flat out. He said coming into this race, he thought it might be a crapshoot for him because he didn't qualify well. But he just came on the radio and told his team, this is the best car I've ever had at this racetrack, especially in turns 1 and 2.
Right behind him, Jamie McMurray, last week's pole sitter who finished 7th at Martinsville. He has 3 top 5s here.
Yeah, and Dale Jr., I am really impressed with the run he's making right now, Larry. He is picking them up and putting them down. Started way back, but he's slowly but surely working his way toward the front and got good lap times.
Yeah, by far the best Rick Hendrick car here so far right now.
Paul Menard has gained 6 spots since the start of this race. He's 9 seconds off the lead right now. Right behind him is teammate Jeff Burton, who started 12th and is still running in the top 15, though he's under pressure from Denny Hamlin, who has come from 23rd to now battle for 14th.
And we're looking at a guy in the 11 car that won both races here last year. So we know, and he didn't come on all that great until second half of the races last year. So we'll see where he ends up tonight.
Behind them, Ryan Newman running right where he started in 16th position in the Army car, and he's under fire from Jimmy Johnson.
What was it Chad told Jimmy when we were listening in there before the race started?
He said, I think you'll be able to pass with this setup. And now he is. Montoya, Truex, and Tony Stewart round out the top 20 as David Ragan starts marching back toward the front as he takes second from Biffle.
You can see Clint Boyer in that 33 car starting to close in on those 2 Roush Fenway cars.
Boy,
go ahead.
Sorry, Mike, but David Rudiman just smacked the wall real hard coming off turn 4.
36 cars still on the lead lap after 77 laps. And Matt Kenseth 2.4 seconds ahead of his 2 teammates, Ragan and Biffle. I think everybody expected the Roush Fords to be really strong here in Texas, so this comes as little surprise. Let's have a look at Rudiman and what happened to him.
See him just look like the car push, and then just slaps the fence there coming off turn 4. Did a lot of damage to the car. He already had some damage from the pit road incident.
With that car that he's running right in front of, Joey Logano in that 20 car.
And that could have something to do with it, Larry. When you damage that right front fender, it really hurts the downforce on these cars. And that car just looked like it took off straight to the fence.
Matt Kenseth enjoys a 2.5-second lead in the Samsung Mobile 500. Welcome back to NASCAR on Fox. A beautiful Lone Star sunset. We're a quarter distance here in Texas. 85 laps in. Matt Kenseth's lead down to 1.6 seconds over teammates David Ragan and Greg Biffle. Then it's Clint Bowyer Chevy and Marcos Ambrose Ford. And the flags are out straight, Darrell, blowing from south to north. Tailwind on the backstretch, headwind on the front stretch. But what happens in turn 3 and 4 with that side buffeting?
Yeah, well, I think it shoves you. It'll shove you up to track. I think that's why you see some of these guys just running right up next to the wall. Their cars are more wind sensitive than others. If you're loose, that wind will affect you a lot more than if your car's a little snug.
Matt Kenseth beginning to get into traffic. 35 cars on the lead lap. He's about to pass Andy Lally and then go after Joey Logano and Robbie Gordon.
And he's catching some of these other drivers so fast, just like you see right here on the front straightaway. He pulls up behind Andy Lally in the 71, goes by Joey Logano in the 20 car. You know, when Matt was an early teenager, he made an agreement with his dad, Roy, that Roy should buy a race car and race it. Matt would work on the car until he was old enough to race it. At 16 years old, he took the steering wheel over and won his 3rd time out.
Roush Fenway Fords, 4 of the top 6 spots, anchored by Carl Edwards in 6th. What's up with Carl, Matt?
2 issues Carl's battling, Mike. Number one, the race car is extremely free. They're going to take another big swing at it in around another 20 to 25 laps. His second issue, not feeling well in the race car. Expect to see them hand some different products through the window of the car on the next pit stop.
Yeah, he's asking them for something to settle his stomach down. He said he's really feeling a little sick to his stomach in the car.
Edwards won from the pole here last night as he battles Marcos Ambrose for 5th. How about the Aussie, Steve?
Yeah, Mike, he's given it a good run tonight. Ambrose early was complaining of not finding much grip, but he said just a few laps ago that he was finding grip on the bottom of 3 and 4, so he changed his line.
Well, none of the track getting direct sunlight now, so that asphalt's going to begin to cool and things are going to change.
Yeah, and that will change where you run on the racetrack as well. As we noted, you run low in 1 and 2 because it was shaded first. So you don't have to run that high line. The wind maybe pushes you up a little bit in turns 3 and 4, but once the track cools, you'll dive down to that bottom. Shorter route around the track, make a quicker lap.
Next week, Talladega, Alabama. Next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox. Matt Kenseth has opened up his lead on David Ragan now to 2 seconds.
That's the good news, Mike. The bad news is they've got potential engine problems. They had a piece of paper on the grill. That got the engine hot. The paper is off, but the engine is still running at 250. And Matt has just told the crew that the oil pressure is fluctuating up and down. That is a very dangerous thing to have happen.
Here a couple laps ago, you see a wrapper, piece of plastic on the grill.
That's the 2nd time that he's had trash on his grill. Just coincidentally, but that extra heat in that engine, if it stayed hot very long.
What else I saw is most of that grill is taped over in black tape, Larry. There's just a thin slot at the top and a thin slot at the bottom of that opening to get air through if there's no obstruction.
And Mike, it's funny you mentioned that. As I walked through the garage area this morning, with this much wind, that's what you have to fight, blowing that debris around. And I felt like that a lot of the teams had elected to run a lot more tape than they should, not having no margin for error.
Remember, though, those Fords, they have been able to run more tape on the grill than the Chevys and Dodges or the Toyotas.
True. All right, green flag pit stops. A.J. Allmendinger is in. So is Robbie Gordon. And trouble for Andy Lally. The right front tire is down on his Ford. And the rookie heads down to the apron and will come to pit road. Looks like we'll stay under green.
If he doesn't lose anything off of that tire, if it doesn't come apart and throw debris everywhere, we should be okay.
Anytime we get into green flag pit stops, at least in 2011, it seems like that A.J. Allmendinger in the 43 is one of the first ones to come to pit road.
Allmendinger grabs a gear and heads back out. Dale Jr. in 9th. Steve.
And Mike, there was some concern in that camp. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also having debris on his grill. However, he said that he thinks he just got it off. He had really started to get hot. They thought about pitting early, but in fact, they're going to stay where they are. But meanwhile, David Ragan coming down on pit road, talking about his car is just a little bit free on late exit. 4 tires for David Ragan, no other chassis adjustments. Let's go to Dick.
Well, Matt Kenseth's crew is going to pull a little piece of tape off the grill, or at least that has been the plan, to try and solve that engine heating problem. There is nothing they can do about the fluctuating oil pressure, however. This is one of the best over-the-wall pit crews. They're looking like they're going to get him out in great time.
Jamie Mack's been in, Montoya. Here comes Regan Smith and Kyle Busch. Krista.
See Ryan Dextre throw the gas can. This is his second race in this role. The team thinks his height is an advantage. Greg Biffle says, you tighten up my car, I'll be a rocket ship. Steve.
Well, Krista, the comment from Kyle Busch is he's been trying to find rear grip in that number 18 car. 4 tires for Kyle Busch. Let's go to Matt on the 33.
And Clint Bowyer says the car was absolutely plowing. He moved up the racetrack. He had to hesitate for the 39 of Newman pulling out of his box. He changed his line. He picked up about 2/10, Steve, air pressure change for the 33.
Well, that Marcus Ambrose in, he said the car is free getting in, but he doesn't want to change that much. He said the car is still working well. 4-tire stop for Marcus Ambrose, no other adjustments.
And the 22 service complete for he and Denny Hamlin. Air pressure changes there, trying to fix their extremely loose race cars. The same for Carl Edwards. He finally makes his way to his box. They hand him some water through the window. That's going to be hopefully the biggest adjustment they're hoping to make on that car. Dick?
Well, Jimmy Johnson's car is a little bit better than number 48 on pit road for 4 tires and adjustments. He has not been perfect yet tonight.
Jeff Gordon is in. David Rudiman completes service. David Starr and Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes to pit road after assuming the lead as we work our way through green flag pit stops. Matt Kenseth will retake the lead on the Earnhardt stop. Steve?
Strategy for the 88 team, Mark. They stayed out just so they could lead a lap. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying, help me turn this car. It's just too tight in the center. They're going to take 4 tires on that 88 for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
All of the lead lap cars have now pitted in this sequence, and the lead returns to Matt Kenseth with David Ragan second by about the same margin, 1.7 seconds, and A.J. Allmendinger now up to third.
One thing that you can do to make the car turn better is drop the air pressure in the right front tire. But boy, that makes me nervous, Larry, when you start getting that pressure too low in that right front.
Poor right front is in a big load here in these corners at those speeds.
1 hour of race time equates to just about 100 laps here in Texas. Matt Kenseth out front by 1.8 seconds.
Plus laps led tonight. That's already more than any single race led by the 2003 NASCAR champion in any race last year, followed by David Ragan and Clint Bowyer. From the Hollywood Hotel, Chris Myers, Jeff Hammond, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who said this week, I'll let you know when I'm back. I'm not there yet, but he did say in the pre-race show the wind was the worst he's ever seen it. It's died down. He's been all the way up to the front of the pack, hanging around 13th now.
He's continued to march up through there. I think they're making the right changes. Back on lap 101, he ran the fastest lap of his race, so Steve Letarte is making the right calls.
Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick, who's led just 7 of the last 700 laps, but has 2 wins, had that pit road violation. He's never won 3 in a row, trying to do that, hanging around the back of the pack at 24.
Yeah, they can't quite get the handle, I think, on this car right now. Gil Martin's going to make a big swing at it if he wants to get him up toward the front, and may have to take 2 tires to get track position.
Jimmy Johnson, the guy they call 5-time, was in a bit of a skid for him anyway, through 14 races without a win going back to last year, hanging around 14th, but that's better than where he was just a few moments ago.
Yeah, they're continuing to make improvements on this car. It's been loose getting into the center. I think Chad Knaus continues to make the right adjustments, but Jimmy is giving him great feedback. I think once they get it dialed in, he'll be a factor.
And you said Denny Hamlin, tonight was the night. He's 15th. Remember when he swept these races last year, Jeff? He came from 29th and 30th to win. So from the back of the pack, that's possible. He had some handling problems early, and the engine issues we're watching for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, the thing is right now, a lot of these guys, including Denny Hamlin, when he thought he had a problem with his engine, which we know with the history of Joe Gibbs as far as engines this year is concerned, it's been inconsistent. That's got to be worrying. But also, I think this new front nose is really giving him a lot of problems with the balance of the car, including Mike Ford. So they're having to work through it. Plus the fact, Chris, don't forget, racing here under the lights at Texas, they don't have any history here.
We've seen the green flag stops and frantic pit stops early affecting some drivers. What should we look forward to the next time around?
I don't think it's going to change one bit because all these guys understand that track position is so important, and they're going to keep pushing it on pit road because it's easier to pass guys on pit road than it is on the racetrack.
And you see the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew Award or those in the running. You can text the car number for the crew you think will be there, 2345667. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network, is getting faster with 4G. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike. And Mike, 10 leaders and 12 different lead changes so far.
Thanks, Chris. You see Kasey Kahne going a lap down to Matt Kenseth. We've been green since lap 52. That's 57 laps. So not only do we have the night as a new wrinkle, this is the longest green flag stretch in the last 5 years at Texas.
And there's a lot of good racing going on. I've been watching Trevor Bayne. Larry, he's running a great race here. He's up to 16th spot. He just drove around Jeff Burton here that he's right behind him, and Juan Montoya a lap or two ago. Also Newman, he drove around all those guys and is pulling away. Krista, he's got to like his car.
Yeah, and he told me before this race started, he said finally, meaning finally, a track where I've been in a Cup car before. He just told him perfect entry, perfect exit. The last adjustments were really, really good, Donnie, talking to his crew chief, Donnie Wingo.
And that's the key. He made his Cup debut here last fall. Had to start tail end Charlie because they changed the transmission. Drove his way up to 17th at the finish. He comes in here with a lot of confidence.
And he raced last night, and so he's got some laps on this track, and it's really showing. It's all this kid really needs, laps, time on the racetrack.
He turns everything into a competition. He was off a few weeks ago flying kites with a friend. He decided if he could take his kite and wreck his friend's kite while they were flying them. Loves competition.
Now, that's what I used to say to Hammond all the time. Why don't you go fly a kite? We could do it tonight, though, couldn't you, buddy?
You wouldn't have to worry about wrecking your friend's kite.
You might not ever get yours down. Mark Martin, 22nd. You know, it's been a lackluster evening for Hendrick Motorsports, and a tire down on, is that Schrader? It is, Kenny Schrader, right front. Seen a few of those tonight, and that will bring out the caution for the third time this evening at lap 113. Schrader makes it safely to pit road, where he has the first pit stall. And there you see why the caution is out, for the debris off of his right front.
It's going everywhere. I tell you something, it's pretty cool. You notice the caution lights around the front here? I think it's for the fans. I think it's so the fans can see when the caution lights, when the caution is out. It's pretty cool. It's up on the fence, and
wow,
I think it's another Eddie Gossage innovation.
Wait till it gets dark.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially in the nighttime, for sure.
Eddie Gossage, track president, responsible for a lot of the promotion and innovation that it has made Texas Motor Speedway one of the leaders of this sport. 27 cars on the lead lap. Kasey Kahne will be the 28th. He'll get the free pass on this caution. And we'll see if they all head to pit road.
Well, we've been anywhere from 15 to 20 laps since those green flag stops. I can't imagine any driver will pass up the opportunity to get it full of Sunoco race fuel. But we might see some strategy, especially those guys that made late green flag stops. We saw it with Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski earlier. Maybe right side tires only for some guys.
All right, Dick Berggren, Matt Kenseth leads them around. They're headed your way.
And Matt Kenseth's strategy will be to take 4 tires on that car, Mike. They say that the big problem they're struggling with right now is it's not as fast as they'd like it to be when they do have fresh tires on it at the get-go. But on long runs, Kenseth has been terrific. Krista.
They thought about taking 2 tires for Greg Biffle, but then they made the call, no, let's go both sides, 4 tires. Greg also saying his car needs to be just a little bit tighter, so they're going to make another small adjustment for him to tighten it up. Matt?
Clint Boyer said he felt like this segment of the race, the track took such a dramatic change. Everyone who had a major grip issue got even worse. Significant track bar adjustment to try to get more grip in this 33, Steve.
Well, Matt, David Ragan said he's able to move around to find some grip, but he said his car is just a little bit free. Small chassis adjustment for the 6 car, 4 tires. He likes the way the car's driving.
The Penske Dodges launch first off pit road. Maybe that drag racing he's been doing has helped Kurt Busch get off pit lane. 2 tires doesn't hurt either. HTC Evo 4G, only from sprint.com/speed. A lot of additional repair going on David Reutiman's car and Joey Logano's. They wanted to make that repair without having to go behind the wall, but too many crewmen over the wall in both cases will put them at the tail end of the longest line, about where they would have been.
Poor old David Reutiman. I mean, he's hit cars on pit road. He's hit the wall. He's having a terrible start to this evening. Cleaning them up, cleaning those tires up.
Next week, Fox Saturday Baseball. David Wright leads the Mets into Atlanta to take on their NL East rivals, the Braves. Or Joe Mauer and the Twins head to Tampa to take on the Rays. Or you'll see Angels battle the White Sox. All presented by Budweiser. Next Saturday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Check local listings for the game and start times in your area. Yankees manager Joe Girardi is not only a big fan, but how's he doing in the Yankees clubhouse NASCAR pool?
One real quick, when Kurt Busch, you heard him spinning the tires, he only took 2, so you got to clean those others up real good. You get run over on a restart if you're not careful.
He and Brad Keselowski got 2. Denny Hamlin got 2 tires. Brian Vickers gained a bunch of spots by taking 2. He restarts 11, and here we go. How about Denny Hamlin? That 2-tire gamble puts him up front, trying for 3 in a row at Texas. There's the number 11 up on the outside. Second car in line.
You know, one thing, when the sun goes down and starts to get night and the lights come up, the perspective of the racetrack really changes from a driver's point of view. The track has a totally different look. Takes a little bit of adjustment to get used to it.
Darrell, does it become kind of like tunnel vision?
Well, it looks bigger. It's like you turn the contrast up on your TV. The track gets real bright. It gets real big looking to you.
Allmendinger looking back at Trevor Bayne and Paul Menard. The green blur on the inside.
This is where Trevor Bayne, I've talked to him a couple of times. This is where he has to use the same mindset that he had at Daytona. Be careful when you get yourself in a situation that could knock you out of the race.
16th place, Bayne and Menard. As Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth have distanced the field. Third place Keselowski already more than a second back as he battles David Ragan for third. Here comes Ragan.
Brad Keselowski and the 2 really did not get going on that restart. Kurt Busch, his teammate, actually looked like caught him sleeping a little bit.
And just what I was talking about, and I've talked to Trevor about this, watch him come off turn 4 right here. Now he's under a lot of pressure. He's been under pressure from Paul Menard, and he's driving as hard as he can go right now, trying to stay ahead of these guys. Might be in his best interest to give up just a little bit right here and try to get it back later.
Matt Kenseth wants the lead back, and that low groove in 1 and 2 has worked well for him all night.
Well, he's bad fast. He's been bad fast, and he has 4 fresh Goodyear tires on that 17 car.
His teammates, Ragan now 3rd, Edwards back in 8th, and Biffle 9th. And David Starr making his first start in the Sprint Cup Series, a veteran of the Truck Series of NASCAR.
I think
has bounced off the wall.
Yeah, he smacked the wall down there.
See Denny Hamlin in the 11 car getting passed by Clint Boyer in the 33. Now under fire from Carl Edwards in that 99. Again, Denny Hamlin changed just 2 right side tires on that last caution.
I think that little caution probably helped Carl Edwards. He wasn't feeling real good. If you can just get a break, catch your breath, get a drink of water, get 4 new tires, makes you feel a lot better.
David Starr makes it safely to the garage area. We continue under green with Biffle going after Carl Edwards. This is for 7th. And Biffle continues his march back toward the front.
Roush Fenway, they've got 4 drivers in the top 8 right now, as they have most of the race.
14th place and 2nd place, David Ragan. Eases past Kurt Busch on the inside. And now he's 1 second behind Matt Kenseth in 2nd place.
I just hope our post sitter has a good night tonight.
Yep.
He really needs a good run. He's got a great car tonight. Hope he can close the deal.
14th, 15th, back and forth go Allmendinger's Ford and Earnhardt Chevrolet. This was 1 lap ago between these two.
Got to run, looking underneath. And maybe I'll just give you a little.
There you go. 88 on the front stretch here. Good job. All clear by 7.
And the brothers Busch, Kurt on the outside, and in white and green, Kyle on the inside. 3rd and 4th place, back and forth.
See, that's a team, the 18 team. Dave Rogers, crew chief there for for Kyle. I really feel like the cautions have helped them. They needed to work on that car. They have, and it's getting better and better.
Our cameramen on the roof report 40-mile wind gusts, an awful lot of wind. Now, Matt Kenseth has said the motor has cooled down, the oil pressure has stopped fluctuating, but look, there's more trash on that grill.
It's one of the downsides of racing in the wind and racing out front where you're in clean air. You don't have a lot of air up there and a lot of other drivers in front of you.
Things like a paper magnet.
6th place, Bowyer, Keselowski, Biffle, and Edwards.
We're actually getting a report that Brad Keselowski in the 2 feels a little bit of a vibration. Changed only those right side tires under that last caution.
And here comes Biffle. Greg Biffle up to 6th now, as Matt Kenseth leads David Ragan by 1.7 seconds after 129 laps. 135 laps complete. Matt Kenseth still the leader by 2 seconds. You're riding with Casey Kane, watching the American Ethanol in-car cam as he works to stay on the lead lap and in contention. And Larry, it's as you talked at the back of the show, they've just got to work with their communication to try and make that car better and keep up with track changes.
And that's the biggest thing, is be proactive, not reactive. You've got to anticipate. These drivers have to anticipate what they're going to feel in this race car as we move into the nighttime, because quite honestly, we just went through another transition. It's just about turned dark here.
And that kind of electrifies Kyle Busch because he is now the 3rd place car and starting to make some noise, 3.5 seconds off the lead, but running a little quicker than the leader. Back to 8th place where Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch go at it.
I think this is another driver. Jimmy Johnson in that 48.05 time just keeps getting his car better and better. Started 6th, fell back. They just keep working on that car, keep moving it to the front.
And he's driving away from Kurt Busch, Matt.
Pit strategy, Mike, got Kurt Busch the lead, but the car is wrecking loose. He has dropped from 1st all the way down to 9th, just trying to hold on to it.
Jamie McMurray pits unscheduled stop.
We get all kinds of excellent coverage. Just tired of working this hard. I mean, every single race I got to drive over my head.
And you can see, Mike, in the corners, he is just absolutely sideways, just trying to hang on to it.
Clint Bowyer has passed Kyle Busch, and that moves Bowyer back up to 3rd.
Top 20 making any headway here.
And Bowyer is lapping faster than the leader, Matt Kenseth. Jamie McMurray made an unscheduled stop, went a lap down.
And again, I'll just refer back to what we talked about earlier in the show. Manage your assets. Kurt says I'm having to drive over my head. Don't do that. You know, if you're driving over your head, you're going to probably get in trouble. Back it up. Let us help you.
There's Kenseth, the leader. There's David Ragan, 1.6 seconds back. The good news for Bowyer is that he's faster than the leaders. The bad news is he trails them. There's Bowyer, the yellow car, by 3.5 seconds.
Mike, I think you made a note about Jamie McMurray making an unscheduled pit stop, had a loose wheel from that last pit stop under that last caution.
Yeah, when you're running here, Larry, that right front, as you said earlier, it's under such a load. It's got so much pressure on it that you just can't tolerate a loose wheel at all. Not any lap. When you feel it, you got to come in.
Might be the first time tonight we've had 2 Hendrick cars in the top 10. Johnson now 8th and Earnhardt 10th.
Well, maybe they had the nighttime setup in the cars. You know, again, you take Chad Knaus, pretty smart fella. Might have anticipated, Larry, like you said, what this joint was going to do when it cooled down. The sun went in.
You know, Greg Biffle just keeps picking them up and putting them down as Biffle moves past Kyle Busch for 4th. Let's go to Kyle's pit and Steve.
Mike, I want to follow up what Larry Mack said about drivers anticipating what these race cars need. Similar conversation just took place between Dave Rogers and Kyle Busch. Kyle saying his car was loose in and loose off. And Dave Rogers said, hey, why don't we put a rubber in the left rear spring and get it over with now? So, again, those guys are anticipating what this racetrack's going to become.
Well, if a driver is looking for a big swing at it, a major adjustment, and it is a major adjustment, it's going to cost them time on a pit stop. Do it early. Don't wait till too late in the race.
I believe I remember hearing them in practice saying we're going to put a rubber in the left rear to see what it does. Now they need it and they know what it's going to do, so that's a good call on their part.
Matt Kenseth's lead cut to 1.2 seconds. David Ragan and Clint Bowyer moving in. Finish line and the turn 2 condominiums have a nice view as well. Seating down the backstretch and this huge front stretch grandstand nearly full, but for some sections way down past pit road toward turn number 1. They've been watching Matt Kenseth put on a clinic, leading more laps tonight than he's led all season. His crew is up on the wall and waiting for Kenseth.
He's got it made. I mean, the car is fast and he's got, he's got a great car, but they're going to make it a little more difficult for him if they have to pit early for fuel.
He's got an 8-second lead, and he's going to give it up and come to pit road. Dick?
Hey, crew chief Jimmy Fennick has just told Sean Ward, the gas man, get it full this time. Ward, a big one at 6'3", 240. That's what you need to get it all in. He's got 1 can in, 2nd can now on the way to the car. What a shame. They were running so well, but they're running short on fuel.
Well, not just Kenseth, but his teammate David Ragan, the pole sitter, also comes to pit road. And now here comes Bowyer and everybody else. Or excuse me, that's Kurt Busch and about 5 more. Steve?
And David Ragan saying the car is just not turning as well as it was earlier. He said, I'm sliding the nose a little bit and I'm late to the throttle, Matt.
Making a significant change on the 22 of Kurt Busch. They just have not been able to hit on it, Steve. Just wrecking loose and also just pushing tight. Big change. Meanwhile,
Jamie McMurray, Denny Hamlin, Montoya leaves, Edwards comes in, and Edwards has to hit the brakes as Busch pulls out, Matt.
Mike, you're right. Had to hit it for both the 42 and the other car. They pulled the tear off. He says the car is just greasy tight through the center of the corner. Another change for him as well. He's not said anything about feeling poorly. Steve.
And that Marcus Ambrose saying that it's picking up the left rear, but runs pretty good right now. Just 4 tires and a track bar adjustment. Kyle Busch coming shortly, Krista.
Greg Biffle getting the best fuel mileage or the most Sunoco fuel in his car tonight of his Roush teams. Right now he said he just needs a small adjustment. The track is changing, so they are making an adjustment. Steve?
Krista, Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that 88 is just a little bit tight in the middle. They've given him a clear windshield with a tear off. 4 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. just a little bit tight.
Dale Jr. finishing up. Kyle Busch in, Bobby Labonte in, Joey Logano, and the loose tire was from Regan Smith's car. Steve?
Just an air pressure adjustment for Kyle Busch this time. In fact, Dave Rogers just said, what do you need? He said, nothing this time, Dick.
And Jimmy Johnson is on his way down pit road to get service to his automobile. They had wanted to pit a couple of laps earlier, but couldn't make it in. Matt.
Clint Bowyer said it's just amazing how his race car had changed over that run. It started out a little bit on the tight side, then went free, then came back to tight. Small air pressure change expected on this stop.
Regan Smith has served his pass-through penalty for that tire crossing pit road. In the midst of green flag stops, Tony Stewart is the race leader.
You saw how fast Carl Edwards in that 99 drove by Tony Stewart in the 14. That's the difference in fresh tires and 45-lap tires. Matt Kenseth was actually in the catbird seat as we see a battle for position between David Ragan and Kyle Busch in the 18 for 6th. When you've got an 8-second lead as the leader and you hit pit road, even if it's early, you force the other driver's hands to follow you in there.
Yeah, it was funny to me, Larry, those guys that weren't even scheduled to be pitting, I don't know if they didn't know that he was pitting early because he didn't have fuel, or monkey see, monkey do. I wasn't sure.
Tony Stewart gives up the lead to pit in front of Steve.
Tony Stewart slides to a stop, and he was saying, Mike, that it was free before, but it's getting better. Now it's neutral. They do make a chassis adjustment at 4 tires.
Jeff Gordon and Landon Castle in, and that will complete green flag stop. Steve?
Jeff Gordon's going to get an air pressure adjustment, and Mike, he's saying the same thing. I'm just lacking grip all over the track. Loose, loose, loose. The comments of Jeff Gordon.
We'll cycle back to Matt Kenseth as the leader, and in this long run of green flag racing that has included 2 pit stops, Kenseth has probably gained about 3 seconds on his competition on the track, and probably about 8 seconds because of his pit crew.
Well, and his pit stall.
Yes.
I love it. They got the first pit off of turn 4 right there. I've seen it time and time again. I've seen a 48 do it. And they come in that first stall, it just works out for them.
Look at the gap back to the 33, the second place car of Bowyer, now 13 seconds behind the race leader. There's Bowyer. It has been so windy tonight. Kyle Busch said on his radio he felt like a feather being blown around out there. And here's what 2 of the Roush Fenway drivers had to say about it. Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards.
I know that wind's playing havoc with you over in 4 still. Still pretty windy. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Caution for debris on the back straightaway. That's our 4th caution tonight. It comes at lap 208, right after everybody had made green flag pit stops.
And Matt Kenseth in that 17, he's glad we cycled through all those green flag pit stops before that debris caution came out. I can't help but think back to Las Vegas. Matt Kenseth's teammate, Greg Biffle, had the best race car there. What happened to them? They had fueling issues during that race, and here now Matt Kenseth looks like they've got the car to beat, and one of the fastest drivers here tonight, and they had fuel issues.
Tony Stewart will receive the free pass on this caution, and Kenseth's 13-second lead is erased. You saw the right side of Kenseth's car, and it's all scratched up from an incident on the first pit stop when he got together with another car. Excuse me, that was out on track, not on the pit stop. There was a collision on pit road, but that's not the one that involved Kenseth.
Yeah, the Kenseth's got that scratch down the side. Remember when the 71 car was up in the, didn't take tires, couldn't go, and he got underneath him into one down there and got a little donut on the door.
Yep, he was trying to pass Andy Lally. I was mistakenly thinking of the Logano-Rudiman crash on pit road on the first pit stop.
Yeah, we've had plenty of incidences on pit road.
It happened up at the same end of pit road.
Right.
So they've just been in. They've just taken on tires. They've just gotten fuel. And you know what? They're ready to do it again. Here is where we may see some gambling. Since you have 4 fresh tires, how many do you need, Darrell?
Yeah, I don't think you're 2 at the most, but maybe come to get fuel, because that could be an issue right now. Tires certainly haven't been.
Well, Kenseth was the first to pit under green, and that was 9 laps ago. He is not coming.
Nah. I would have been surprised if either of these front guys did.
Kyle Busch is on pit road.
I think, remember, he wanted to do some work. He wanted to get a rubber in that left rear spring. This is a great opportunity to do that under caution.
Earnhardt's in, Jimmy Johnson, Paul Menard, Jeff Burton, Montoya, and Kurt Busch are the cars that pit. Steve?
Well, Mike, they have decided not to load that spring rubber that Kyle Busch and Dave Rogers contemplated. They feel like they have to come to pit road because Kyle described a vibration, and the car, he said, was very tight, so that's why they've opted to stop.
Thanks, Steve. Now, last week, pit road speeding was an issue, particularly with Jimmie Johnson. Larry's moved over into the NASCAR control tower to give us a look at the very objective way that NASCAR measures pit road speed.
Yeah, there's 8 segments on pit road, and this is what NASCAR is looking at. There's no human element involved. And as the cars go down pit road, you see the different segments, and you can run, pit road speed is 45 miles an hour. They will give you up to 49.999. And as they read those numbers across the screen, if somebody is faster than 49.999, it flashes red. It immediately tells them that that car was too fast. It's simply a formula of time over distance. There's no human element involved. It's right here on the screen as it's happening live.
It turned out, thanks Larry, it turned out Jimmie Johnson's complaint was he thought he was caught speeding in the segment that included his pit, where he was stopped for 14 seconds. He couldn't have been speeding there. It turns out they got him in the segment prior, and he was speeding. So now pit road's full of cars. Once again, these are cars 1 or more lap down. And here's how that monitor fills in. PS1 is pit segment 1, pit segment 2, and so forth.
Yeah, and if it turns red, hello, come back and see us again.
The speeding police will give you a ticket. If it happens under caution, you restart tail end of the longest line. Happens under green, you get a stop and go penalty. Now again, what has Tony Stewart makes a long stop to repair damage. When Johnson made that restart, he was not at the tail of the pack. Last week, he went to the tail end of all the cars that were on track, and with 1 to go, several cars took the wave around. Johnson would have started last car of the longest line, but John Darby, series director, told us this morning, we're not going to wait for the wave around cars. They get a gift by getting to come around, but we're not going to hold the restart for them. They had not caught up to Johnson by turn 3, where the field gets locked in for the restart, so Jimmy's restart was completely legal. He obeyed the letter of the rule, restarted where he was at the tail end of the cars that were in position for the restart. Hope that clears that up, as Matt Kenseth is our leader with 211 laps to go. Wait till next week.
A split second decides between victory and defeat.
It's the best race we have on television.
Next week, Talladega Superspeedway.
She's the biggest, fattest, boldest, and she is the fastest.
Any lap of this race could be the one you remember for the rest of your life.
Keep watching NASCAR on Fox.
That's next Sunday. A lot more tonight with Kenseth ahead of Bowyer, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel. And we just saw the pit stops, Jeff. Take us through. We saw from the beginning, lap 12, Tony Stewart involved here. Frantic pit stop.
It's nothing but a melee out there. I mean, it's talking about the wildest traffic jam you've ever seen. A lot of guys beating and banging. You see all of a sudden the 14 gets into 36 and Dave Blaney around. He goes. The fact that the 29 can't get out, he tries to back up. All of a sudden he gets a penalty because he had a tire out of sequence. The 00 hits the 20 of Joey Logano. These guys are racing all over the place, and tonight we've seen the 88 car actually implement a little different sequence right there in their pit stop, which I think has helped him be a little bit faster off of pit road, and he's currently running 7th.
And we've had 11 leaders, Mike, and 20 lead changes, and we'll see where the pit stops take us from here.
Thank you, Chris. Kyle Busch led that group down pit road because he had a loose left rear, so the caution very timely for him.
And there seems to be some concern that Kenseth is thinking he might have a tire issue.
Ready for the restart. The Camaro pace car heads for pit road. Matt Kenseth, Clint Bowyer, then David Ragan, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Marcus Ambrose. 5 Fords against Bowyer's Chevy. Here we go.
Bowyer in that 33 car, what a run. He got through 1 and 2, but here comes Kenseth, here comes Marcus Ambrose in the 9, 3 wide into turn 3.
Boy, Ambrose gets, or the wind which has really picked up and affected these cars in turn 4. Squirreled up Kenseth. He holds second. Ambrose. Then Edwards, Kyle Busch, Menard, and Reagan.
What Bowyer did was he got down. I mean, he was right down on the right side of Kenseth over there in 1 and 2. Kenseth had no choice but to let him go. He was almost like he was side drafting off of him. He had him pinned down. Oh, trouble on the back, guys. See cars going around.
3 cars around, mid-stretch. Truex wrecked. Mark Martin wrecked. Regan Smith in the outside wall. Caution at lap 215.
Mark Martin, you see, he's okay. He's trying to get his window net down.
And remember, Martin Truex still sore from that hard crash at Martinsville last Sunday.
Somebody got into somebody back there. Have to take a look at it and turn them in the outside wall. I think it was Truex.
Martin Truex has climbed from his car. Mark is out. 2 tough weeks in a row for Martin. Coming up from the bottom of your frame. Looks like Truex might have got into Keselowski, but did he have some help?
I don't know if Truex just didn't try to stay off of Keselowski, and the car got loose and shot across the racetrack.
Here's a look from Kevin Harvick.
31 shop track, stay low, it's all good. Stay in it. Stay in it, stay in it.
Not sure.
I think Truex was really, I think he was about to spin out.
From A.J. Allmendinger.
And see, Truex, he was trying to stay off the 2 car, and he got loose trying to turn it off of him. I don't believe the 29 had any contact at all.
Boy, what
Another
a close
hard
call
hit
for Allmendinger in that 43. And Regan Smith in the 78 just nowhere to go.
And Jamie McMurray in the 1 is going to sneak through here. Whew, and miss it.
Trevor Bayne also did a nice job of getting through that.
As did Dave Blaney, Tony Stewart, and Joey Logano. That's 3 used up race cars right
Really
there.
is. That 5 car took a hard lick.
Regan Smith has climbed from his car. He's okay. Let's ride along with Mark Martin.
Back now, still inside. Watch it there, watch it, watch it. 2 are in that one. You all right, Mark? You all right, bud?
Look, I know these cars are safer. This is exactly what I talked about in the pre-race show. The cars are safer, the tracks are safer, but these guys, they risk something. They're risking their safety every time they get in one of these things.
Both of those hits to the inside wall, that was steel against concrete.
Look at Mark Martin's car on fire, and Mark hit Truex. He never was out of the throttle. He just hit him wide open.
You're right, Mike. There's no safer barrier there on that inside wall. Straight concrete wall.
Riding with Kevin Harvick in slow motion. There may have been a little contact.
Yeah, there was. I saw the hood buckle this a little bit.
But the contact occurred not because Harvick ran into Truex, but Truex's car, you saw it slide to the right a little. It got loose, losing its forward momentum, bringing Harvick into him.
I think so. I think the 56 was getting loose, and that caused the contact.
3 torn up race cars. 3 drivers walk away.
The 56 car, Truex, looks almost like the one he had last week at Martinsville with that vicious crash he had up there.
Pit road is not yet open. The field continues to roll under caution. 217 laps complete. This is caution number 5. The night for a hard 3-car crash in the back straightaway. Pit road opened and 5 of the first 7 drivers stayed out. Here's a look at why we're under caution. As Martin Truex Jr. got a little bit loose, Kevin Harvick got caught up to him. Truex into the outside wall. Mark Martin and Regan Smith pile in. Then Truex and Martin hit the inside concrete wall hard.
Listen to Mark now as he comes off this corner, coming up on the straightaway. Things fine, wide open.
Let's go down to the Ford cutaway car and Jeff Hammond.
Mike, the other week at Martinsville, we saw a horrific accident Martin Truex was involved in, and he was able to walk away. Tonight, again, we saw a crash between he and Mark Martin, and you wonder how these guys are getting out of these cars and walking away. Take a look at the construction of this car. All of a sudden, you got boiler plating around the roll cage. All this is the idea of protecting the driver. But when you look also down inside the cockpit area itself, look at the seat. That's basically, all this is custom made for the drivers, the restraints, the Hans device. All of these things are built by NASCAR and designed by NASCAR to be able to let these guys take these hard impacts. They know they've been hit hard, but at the same time, Dick Berggren, they're able to walk away from these crashes because of the NASCAR ingenuity and the idea of safety that they built into these cars.
Well, Mark Martin wanted to sit during this interview. That was a very hard hit.
Yeah, we're okay. I don't know. Didn't see it just pile up in front of us, and I wailed a couple, I think, Martin in the wall, and a couple other walls, and a couple things there. Just racing.
You said earlier this week it's not the speed that's involved in these crashes, but your feeling of the loss of control. Was that the case tonight?
Yeah, I didn't have any steering after the first hit, so I hit the outside and the inside twice. It was, that's what you have sometimes when you race, you know, but we were having a tough night, and then it ended up short for us.
Catch your breath, my friend. Thank you.
Good news, everybody is okay. Regan Smith, Mark Martin, Martin Truex. We're ready to go green. Clint Bowyer did not pit, nor did Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Marcus Ambrose, or David Reagan. Kyle Busch did, so did Paul Menard, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Montoya. That's your top 10 as we go back to green. The free pass car is Ryan Newman.
That Bowyer car is running that bottom line off that off turn 2 over there. He really gets out of that hole good.
You know, Darrell, you talked about the perception at night. These cars just look fast when we get into the nighttime.
They sail through those corners, man, like they're on a rail.
Bowyer the leader, Kenseth second, as Kyle Busch and Menard battle for 5th place. Let's go back down to the Care Center and Dick.
And Martin Truex has just emerged from the Care Center. A huge hit, 2 in a row. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just unfortunate deal for Napa Toyota. It's we were struggling a little bit tonight, but we were running our butts off and sitting there running 16th. Just had a bad pit stop under green, lost a lap. Trying to take 2 to overcome it. You know, once you make one mistake, it just snowballs, and that's what happened to us. So it's unfortunate. Sucks to have this 2 weeks in a row, but you know, we're going to battle to a decent finish tonight. We sure didn't need to be wrecked.
What happened? What caused that accident?
The 2 checked up in front of me. I checked up, got hit from behind. Just unfortunate racing situation, but you know, you make mistakes, and you get back there, and you get desperate, and you take 2 tires, things like that, and you just get yourself in trouble.
Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Well, business has picked up. 6 of the top 10 or 6 of the top 13 drivers have just run their fastest lap of the race. Menard, Earnhardt, Johnson, Montoya, Stewart, and Burton just clicked off their fastest lap of the night.
And that's what you'd expect, you know, as the track is cooling down now, the grip level's coming up, making more horsepower. Still got the wind to deal with, but these cars are flying around this racetrack right now.
15 cars on the lead lap. Now a quick caution would increase that number as other cars would take the wave around, but that's as few cars as we've had on the lead lap tonight.
We feel like that almost everyone, but especially our guys that are up there running in the top 4 or 5, still at least 2 more pit stops to get to the end of this 500-miler.
I think a guy that's all of a sudden shown up in the picture here, Marcos Ambrose. I mean, look at this cat. He's running 3rd place, and right here, eventually going to be on Kenseth's back bumper. Cousin Carl seems to be hanging in there rather nicely.
Yeah, Ambrose qualified 7th, and quite honestly, he's somewhat hung right up there in the top 10 most of the night.
He's had a good night. A Chevy, 3 Fords, and a Toyota in the top 5. Busch, the best Toyota, 5th. Kurt Busch, the best Dodge, in 10th. Boyer Chevrolet out front. Sponsifier's back for 2011. This year the winning designer gets a personal visit from their favorite driver. So go online for all new ways to create, customize, and share your design.
These first 5 cars up here, well, really the first 10 cars, they are booking, man.
See Paul Menard there in the 27 car. Paul qualified back in the 19th position, making the move from Richard Petty Motorsports to Richard Childress Racing in 2011. Had a great start to the season, a little bit of a hiccup last week at Martinsville, but here he is running in the 7th spot, all over the back bumper of our pole sitter, David Reagan, in that 6.
He's another guy that raced last night. I just think that really paid big dividends racing last night, because these guys didn't have any experience at racing the end of the night here.
20-day races in Texas. This is the first Saturday night race here for the Sprint Cup cars. The Indy cars have run here at night on several occasions, and boy, they fly around here in the dark. And still a variety of different lines being employed, especially up in turns 3 and 4. Some drivers like the high groove, and some, as Darrell said earlier, are bottom fishers. Same case down in 1 and 2, Kenseth high, Boyer low, and yet they exit the corner the same. And here goes Kenseth for the lead.
Kenseth, he ran that high line off of 2 that time, and he got some steam down the back straightaway. He closed up 10 car lengths on Boyer going into 3.
Not going to get it this time, but he lets Boyer know he is there.
Not surprising that Matt Kenseth has a car that the longer he runs, the better it gets. On the long run, he looks like he's got a really good car.
Boyer has a little more distance on him this time into turn number 3.
Matt lost a little time that time. He got a little higher than he wanted to off of 2.
Boyer and Kenseth, your leaders. Ambrose 1 second back. Carl Edwards 1.4 off the lead, and Kyle Busch 1.6 behind.
It's Saturday night on NASCAR on Fox.
Matt Kenseth, the second back of Boyer, then Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards.
I'm going to put on my Dale Jr. hat, and I'm going to that concert.
They do love Dale Jr. in Talladega.
Junior!
Boyer the leader. Matt Kenseth is now the all-time Sprint Cup lap leader at Texas. Biffle second on that list. And Marcus Ambrose.
Now these top 3 cars, Boyer, Kenseth, and Ambrose, probably about 15 to 20 laps. Remember, they've not been to pit road on that last caution. They'll have to come for their green flag pit stop.
If it's like it was the last time when Kenseth came to pit, everybody was just following. Must be time to pit.
Kyle Busch is 4th. He is 3 seconds back. Matt?
Carl Edwards 5th, Mike. They're going to try to put the car back to how it was 2 runs ago. Concerning his health, Carl says he's feeling much better now.
Paul Menard, 6th place. Didn't qualify quite as well as he'd hoped. Started 19th. But he's had a strong run tonight. Has not led the race, but he's flirted with the top 5. A fellow who has led it is our pole sitter.
A little loose on entry, a little snug through the center, and a little free off.
David Reagan. Under fire from Dale Jr. here for 7th place. Jr. led once for 2 laps.
That's pretty good feedback, Larry. I mean, that's 3 points of the corner, you know, entry, middle, center off. That's some good information for a crew chief to deal with.
To the point and concise.
While somebody's driving all over your rear bumper at 190 miles an hour, I would say so. Jimmy is 9th. Started 6th, and until it got dark was not a factor, but now he's up in the top 10.
And how about Tony Stewart in the 14 car, our 2-time Sprint Cup Series champion, qualified 26, got all that damage on pit road on the first caution, lap 11, went a lap down, got the free pass, and here with 92 laps to go, he's cracked the top 10.
11th is Kurt Busch. There was a time in this race when Kurt radioed in and said, how many cars in the lead lap? And he was told 25. He said, we'll be lucky to finish there.
Yeah, he's not been happy at all tonight. He's complained a lot about the car and various other things.
Well, it's much better now. He's up to 11th place, back up to 11th. And Greg Biffle. I think Krista was telling us that Biffle had a problem on a pit stop. One of the windshield clear plastic tear-offs had folded over and was hampering his vision. So they took a little extra time to fix that, give him 4 tires and make an adjustment. So he restarted pretty far back. He's had to work his way back up here to 12th.
I can see clearly now.
With 90 laps to go. Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car sitting there in the 13th position, qualified 14th. Krista, just a solid night for Juan.
Yeah, Larry Mack, this is Juan Pablo Montoya's kind of track, but Brian Patty, the crew chief, said in order for him to be good, they're going to need some long green runs. Juan just wanting to stretch out his legs. He said they didn't make any rear end adjustments in practice at all. The car has been really good. You know, last week he had his son Sebastian at the track, so pre-race he watched cartoons. Today he watched Star Wars. He's hoping the horse is with him tonight.
Now right behind them runs Denny Hamlin, who won both of the races here last year. Hamlin has not had a good night. He is a lap down in 16th place. There's only 15 on the lead lap, so Hamlin's in position for the free pass should it happen. There's Jeff Burton, who is the 14th place car, 12 seconds off the lead. And the final lead lap car will be Ryan Newman, who got the free pass on the last caution. Here's your race for third. Ambrose and Kyle Busch.
You know, I know that right now Kyle Busch is moving into second or third place here ahead of Ambrose, but Carl Edwards is 5th. Wouldn't surprise me to see those two competing pretty heavily against each other, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, before this night's over with.
They've competed heavily against each other in prior races.
They did. They were having a pretty good go of it last night.
Let's check back in, see how your Pizza Hut fan favorite is doing. That is Jeff Gordon, 21st, 1 lap down.
Jeff, he's never found what he's been looking for, I don't think, in the 3 days that we've been here at Texas Motor Speedway. But his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Boy, that was almost a disaster, guys. The 33 car got into Brian Vickers, I believe it was, coming off turn 4. I don't know if Vickers didn't know he was there. I'm not sure. Have to take a look at it and see, but that was almost over. Game over.
Now Vickers was trying to keep from going 2 laps down. He's in the 83.
Watch this. Comes off turn 4. All of a sudden they make contact, and man, I thought the 33 was gone. Is that not a great job of driving right there, Larry? That's at 170 miles an hour.
Now look, Darrell, right about here, both those cars are sliding out of control.
Yeah, one's going up
and one down.
What goes up must come down, and that's what happened.
I guess all those days of racing dirt in Kansas paid off for Clint Boyer.
That's a huge. That was almost a big mistake that turned out to be a great save.
Look how far sideways that 33 got. No wonder you jumped out of your chair.
And that's why dirt track racers make such good stock car drivers, I think. That car control, I've felt that before. I know what to do.
Matt Kenseth took the lead and now comes to pit road. Dick.
And once again, Jimmy Fennick, the crew chief, has told the gas man, Sean Ward, be sure and get it full. Kenseth had a great view of that incident between Boyer and the 83 and said, wow, that was really something. But that gave him the lead. Another pit stop, another sharp pit stop for Kenseth.
They have been on it tonight. They have gained him a second or 2 on just about every green flag pit stop tonight.
I think I see Clint Boyer in the 33 car hitting pit road. He could not sit out there and keep running with Matt Kenseth on pit road.
Kyle Busch comes in with him. So does Paul Menard, Carl Edwards, and here they all come.
That's when the leader is dictating this race. Yep. I mean, the fastest car is dictating the race. I'm coming, you come.
Reagan's in, Johnson's in, Harvick's in. Matt.
And probably the most important adjustment on this stop, Mike, is a little tug on that right front fender to Steve.
And Matt, Kyle Busch in the 18 headed to pit road. He says his car is still loose. There you see him on pit road all around the racetrack. 4 tires for Kyle Busch.
Marcus Ambrose picked up the lead for the first time tonight, and now he brings his Ford to pit road along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in. Steve.
Marcus Ambrose and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in. Now Earnhardt saying he's just a tick tight. You see Marcus Ambrose on pit road. He has said that he is loose in and tight in the center. Wedge adjustment for Ambrose. Meanwhile, you see Earnhardt at the bottom right. They're going to give him an air pressure adjustment to help fix him up. Again, Earnhardt just a little bit tight.
Kasey Kahne's made his pit stop. Allmendinger coming to the pit lane as green flag stops continue. And Tony Stewart is your race leader. Remember, Stewart had the free pass a couple of cautions ago. He's turned that into a green flag run that has given him the lead. Allmendinger and Logano on pit road with 81 laps to go. Steve?
Mike, A.J. Allmendinger has been screaming about this race car. They've lost the handle on that since about the time he got blocked in on pit road. And since then, it's really been a struggle to get this 43 car back to the way he wants it. He was saying that the car had gotten extremely tight. He said, make a big swing at it. Krista?
On Juan Montoya's last stop, he said his car was snappy loose. He couldn't turn the wheel. He is in now. You see the crew making the right side tire change, trying to tighten him up just a little bit for this run as they go around to make a 4-tire change for Juan Pablo Montoya.
Bobby Labonte's in for 4 tires. So is Casey Mears in his Toyota as green flag stops continue.
See Tony Stewart there in the 14 car, still our leader, has not been to pit road. What he would love to see is a caution, and then he would put a lot of drivers a lap down.
Here's his teammate Ryan Newman, who got the free pass on the last caution flag.
But in the meantime, that 14 car is losing a lot of time to these leaders or these faster cars.
So the lead lap cars that have yet to pit: Stewart, Kurt Busch, Biffle, Burton, Hamlin, Trevor Bayne, Keselowski.
Now, regardless of whether you were Matt Kenseth in the 17 that pitted the first of these under these green flag stops, or Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch that we're riding through, it's a one-stop race from here now.
Third place Greg Biffle is in. Krista?
Yeah, and they're calling for the biggest adjustment they've had all night. First, they were going to go 3 rounds on the adjustment. They decided 2, but that's still the biggest adjustment they've made, Matt.
His caution, Jeff Burton had made a stop, didn't take tires, though, just an adjustment. He says the car, after several laps, it just is wicked free when he jumps out of the gas, almost wrecks. They keep making gains on it, but the car just not where it needs it to be balance-wise.
Denny Hamlin in and out, Trevor Bayne in the pits, and the new leader is Kurt Busch. Krista?
As you mentioned, Trevor Bayne coming in. Remember, we said this was his most consistent track because it's the only track he had made a Cup start. They've been fighting the handling all night, just trying to get through this race in one piece.
So now only 3 of the leaders have yet to pit: Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Brad Keselowski. 76 laps to go. Busch works past Kenny Schrader. And he was last in at lap 218. Larry, how far can he go if he chooses to stretch it?
Fuel-wise, he can go another 10 laps, but like Darrell pointed out, the amount of time he's giving up on the stopwatch, that's what's going to kill him if it stays green.
Yeah, when he comes to pit road, I mean, he's going to be way behind these other cars when he leaves pit road.
But he has said all night, Darrell, with equal tires to other cars, he's not quick. He doesn't have a chance. Maybe Steve Addington is playing the best card he has to try to hold track position and catch a caution.
I think what Steve Addington was just looking at is that scoring monitor. He sees how fast Matt Kenseth and Clint Bowyer and Kyle Busch is, and now he's trying to debate. You're rolling the dice. Is a caution going to fall in the next 5 to 6 to 7 laps, or is it going to stay green? If you know it's going to stay green, come on in now, make that green flag stop.
Well, his driver's not been happy with the car. Driver's been complaining. You know, this is a strategy move here. It could pay off.
There is the interval and how it's been these last few laps. It's gaining on Tony Stewart, but Stewart hasn't been in either. Now Matt Kenseth is the 3rd place car. Kenseth has fresh tires. And Matt Kenseth is lapping this track 0.6 of a second faster than the leader, Kurt Busch.
The irony of seeing Kurt Busch in the 22 and Steve Addington, the crew chief, talking about strategy. The fall race of 2009, Steve Addington was Kyle Busch's crew chief. Kurt Busch, they beat the 18 car of Kyle Busch on strategy that night.
Crew chiefs are smart, aren't they? They never forget. They get a trick up their sleeve and they'll play it every time.
So this may be Kurt Busch's best chance for a good finish. When will he come in? When will Tony Stewart come in? We'll be back very shortly to find out. Still out there, Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart. Robbie Gordon has stopped, so has Landon Castle and Kenny Schrader. That means that almost every car on the racetrack has made this stop. Dave Blaney and Rudeman the exceptions. Brian Vickers, Jeff Gordon, and Brad Keselowski still out there. So is Jamie McMurray, stretching the fuel mileage at the expense of being slower than the cars on fresh tires.
Kurt Busch is running 3150. You go back there to Ambrose, 3090. Edwards 3077. So he's given up 5 to 6 to 7 tenths to some of these other cars a lap.
And Matt Kenseth has gained 2 seconds on race leader Kurt Busch in these last handful of laps. Larry, playing strategy is a dangerous game of chicken of you against the possibility of the caution flag.
Well, the box they're going to be in, because even if they go another 5 laps, which fuel wise they can, they still cannot make it to the end. It's not like they're stretching it to try to make it a one-stop race from right now.
Busch's lead over Stewart 1.8. His lead over Kenseth had been nearly 30 seconds. It's now 22.8. Both Penske cars on the same strategy, though. Kurt Busch and his teammate Brad Keselowski have not stopped.
Well, now that you've done it, I mean, now you got to play it to the end. I mean, you know, it's not. Now you got to sit on that hot stove.
Because the thing about it is we still see Steve Addington studying the scoring monitor. We've went far enough now of all of our other drivers that made those green flag stops. If we got a caution, they would all want to come back to pit road for 4 tires and a full tank of Sunoco race fuel.
This is how you keep your driver quiet, though. You know, your driver doesn't have a whole lot to say right now. He's kind of just happy as he can be.
Tony Stewart in the same position as Busch surrenders the spot on the racetrack to Dale Jr. Now, these cars that have pitted, some of them have cycled 1 lap down to the race leader. Jr. is one of those. Busch and Stewart are hoping for a caution because that would trap everybody from David Reagan in 9th. Earnhardt Jr. and everyone on back would trap them a lap down.
Oh, it's a win-win if you can get that caution before you come to pit road for that green flag stop.
And here comes Reagan to unlap himself in 9th place and does so. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch has come to pit road along with Dave Blaney. As we continue under green, Keselowski gives it up. He's in. He's on pit road, but seeing Kyle in now, that's a surprise.
Yeah, but the two in the 22 have been pitting pretty close together.
Krista?
Brad Keselowski needs help on entry. That is where he's losing time. They were, as you said, Mike, gambling, trying to get that caution to come out. They had to come in. Their plan was 270, and that's when they came in on under green. Matt?
And Kurt Busch in the 22 making his way to his pit box. He says he wants to leave the race car alone concerning adjustments. It's manageable at this point in time. Just 4 tires for the Pennzoil die.
Tony Stewart is a lonely man. He was last on pit road at lap 218 along with Jeff Gordon, Brian Vickers, and Jamie McMurray. Everyone else has stopped in the last 20 or so laps. If Stewart catches a caution, everybody from 11th on back is a lap down. Now Kyle Busch made an unscheduled pit stop last time by. Why, Steve?
Well, Mike, again, it's a tire vibration. Kyle said he was going to stay out another couple of laps, and then he said, I got to come right now. Another vibration.
So that will drop him from the lead lap, and now effectively 2 laps down to Tony Stewart.
And what's bad about that stop he had to make, talking about Kyle Busch in the 18, he's still going to have to make another stop before this race is over to get to the end.
For the second time tonight, we're told it was a left rear tire on Kyle Busch. That apparently was loose. Matt Kenseth has now closed the gap on Stewart to just 17 seconds and will be the leader when Stewart pits.
Yeah, Tony Stewart's going to go close to a lap down when he makes his green flag pit stop, Darrell.
I think Stewart's made a couple of withdrawals from the luck bank already tonight. I don't know if I'd press my luck too much further here.
Marcus Ambrose just passed Carl Edwards for 4th place. And here's Biffle, a top 10 car, trying to unlap himself. Biffle runs in 10th.
But I like I like these guys doing this. I want a crew chief that'll gamble. I want a guy that, we have no other shot. And this way we've got a shot.
Darian Grubb, crew chief for Tony Stewart.
Guys, I've been sitting here probably like Larry does when you start crunching numbers. If he slows this 14 car down, and we've seen Darian Grubb do this before, he's getting close to some magical numbers here. He's stretching this thing. We talked about going 50 to 54 laps. The last time he was in, remember he got the free pass the last time when the caution came out on lap 218. He was on pit road. If he's able to go 56 or 57 laps, all of a sudden he's only got to make one more stop if they get that car fixed or filled up. That might be what they're gambling on.
Jeff, if he goes 2 more laps to lap 276, that would be 58 laps since he pitted. That would be 58 laps to go to the end of the race.
And that's how he's going to win the race tonight. That's how he's going to win the race.
Fuel pressure gauge on the way in.
McMurray can't do it. Vickers can't do it. They're both in. So Stewart will come this time. That will leave just Jeff Gordon on the racetrack, who has been trying to work his way back up onto the lead lap. He won't be the leader, but he'll be the last driver who's not yet stopped. Here's Stewart off turn number 4, sweeping down off the banking, slowing down to pit road speed.
You've got to make sure and get that car full of fuel, no mistakes.
And don't speed.
And hope this race goes caution free to the finish. Matt Kenseth takes the lead. Steve?
And Tony Stewart, Mike, saying his car is loose in, it's tight in the middle, and loose off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment for Tony Stewart. He said we've been gaining on the track, but so is everybody else.
Stewart back in the race. Kenseth the new leader with Bowyer, Edwards, Ambrose, and Menard. And here comes, is that Jeff Gordon? He's the last guy to stop. It is not. Oh, Tony Stewart got caught speeding too fast entering pit road. He will have to do a pass-through penalty.
And that I said don't speed because it looked fast coming in.
Here's what Larry showed us earlier. There you see the one of McMurray in, the 83 in, and when that block goes red in the very first segment of pit road, pit segment 1, that is from the yellow commit line to the first timing loop, and Stewart did not get slow enough soon enough.
You saw it. 52.36 miles per hour. Pit road speed is 45. As I noted earlier, they give them up to 49.999. Too fast.
All that strategy erased by the penalty as Matt Kenseth is the leader.
Yes, put the power of logistics to work for you. High stakes drama in Texas. 51 laps to go. Time for an AT&T race break. And with the speeding on pit road penalty, problems for Tony Stewart. So Matt Kenseth in the lead over Clint Bowyer and Carl Edwards. And Matt Kenseth is a guy who's finished second 3 times since his last win, 76 races. All 3 of those second place finishes came on a 1.5 mile track. That's where we are here. And last fall in Texas, he wound up second.
Well, the thing is right now, this is a great racetrack for this whole organization. So it's not surprising to see Matt Kenseth poised to win his first race here at Texas.
Jeff Hammond, you were talking with Larry McReynolds as a crew chief. Let's listen in moments ago, that penalty, Tony Stewart speeding on pit road.
Sorry, I knew I did it. Okay, buddy, we're still the only car that can make it. We'll be just fine here.
See, right now, Darian Grubb still believes that they can manufacture something out of this right here. But for Tony Stewart, he was definitely in the catbird seat. He knew he made that mistake. Darrell Waltrip talked about early in the broadcast, don't beat yourself, and that could have been what the 14 did.
Carl Edwards running third. He's a guy, if you walk through the garage earlier today, that's who most of the other drivers were pointing to. He's led 3 laps tonight, suffering with an upset stomach, but he'll get over that in a hurry if he can get past Bowyer and Matt.
Yeah, if he can get himself an opportunity. I mean, a late caution right now to give him that opportunity to allow him to find the speed necessary to get up there and challenge this win. Otherwise, it's just going to be a good points night for him.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. came in 8th in points. He's run 7th much of the night, coming from back of the pack. What kind of chance, Jeff, here with 48 laps to go and the drivers we talked about in front of him?
I think he's going to have his hands full as far as being able to challenge for the win tonight. But once again, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Letarte are showing while you've got to take a look at these guys as far as the latter part of this season and the chase is concerned, and the fact of when his first win and basically 98 tries, 99 tries will happen this season. He will win this year because of this combination.
A lot of green flag pit stops as we check. At AT&T customers, you can find out the final race standings as soon as the checkered flag drops, or text your fastest pit crew choice. Reply OK. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network, getting faster with 4G. You're watching NASCAR on Fox live from Texas. 28 lead changes, 13 leaders. Matt Kenseth has dominated tonight. Can he hold on? We'll have more in a moment.
Go to sprint.com/speed.
You know, Mike, we were talking in the break about some names that are in the top 10. We're hearing it. Here comes 6, David Ragan. He's on pit road. We hear Kenseth may be coming right now.
Montoya's in. Now it's early for them to need to stop, but they could make it from here. And here's your race leader on pit road, Dick.
And Matt Kenseth absolutely smoked the front tires coming off pit road. This is the money stop. This is the one, Steve.
David Ragan on pit road. His car is tight in the center. They'll make what they think might be their final adjustments. 4 tires for David Ragan. Matt.
Overall, a little bit free is what Carl Edwards says about the 99 machine. They're going to make one small adjustment for him. To Steve.
Matt, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is coming down pit road. Marcus Ambrose in as well. Earnhardt Jr. saying that his car has been getting very tight. They're going to undo what they did on the last adjustment. Matt?
Clint Bowyer's team on the wall waiting for the 33 machine. The signboard is out. Former Truck Series winner here at Texas comes to a stop. Small air pressure change. He needs the race car to turn better in the center of the corner to try to make up headway on that 17 car. Dick.
And Jimmy Johnson on pit road for what should be his final pit stop as well. Minor adjustments in the last couple stops for Johnson.
And Kurt Busch once again becomes the leader because Steve Addington keeps him out on the racetrack as everyone else comes to pit road. It's been a while since Ryan Newman's been in. He's up to 2nd. Kyle Busch 3rd, then Kenseth and Tony Stewart.
Been some interesting strategy tonight, Larry. Just kind of how people are playing this race. Some coming and getting the tires and the fuel, and others trying to play for that caution.
Kristen.
One of the things Donnie Wingo telling his driver Trevor Bayne to pace himself. This is a long race. He's used to some of those shorter races. He's doing a great job hanging in there and remembering this is a marathon. He's ready for the final sprint.
So the first 3 in this race have not been on pit road for a while. Matt Kenseth in 4th is the first car who's already made what would be his last green flag stop. Kurt Busch out front of the Samsung Mobile 500 with 36 laps and for most 1 pit stop to go. But when? Interesting strategies playing out in Texas with 30 laps to go. Kurt Busch, last on pit road at lap 270, would have to run the last 64 laps on 1 tank of fuel should this race stay green. We don't quite think that's possible. Matt Kenseth has been in 25 laps later. He's the 2nd place car, 16 seconds back. Kyle Busch was in 2 laps before his brother. Probably can't make it. Clint Bowyer is 4th. He was in at lap 296. Probably can. Tony Stewart comes up in 5th place, even despite the penalty for speeding, getting onto pit lane for what he hoped could be his last stop. and he's kind of on the cusp. Can he make it?
You know, the most that we've seen Kurt Busch run, Mike, is about 51 to 52 laps. You know, we feel strongly Tony Stewart in his 14 car, he's already run 58 laps, and that's all he has to do is run 58. But let me point this out. When I look at our last 5 Texas races in the spring, even though they were in the daytime, I don't think that matters as far as this number right here. The last caution flag normally comes out, average 20 to 25 laps to go, somewhere around lap 313, 315, right in there. We may not be finished with our cautions.
So that would be sometime in the next 10 laps.
And nobody wants that more than that 22 car of Kurt Busch.
David Ragan again finds himself trying to unlap himself in the number 6 from Kurt Busch to get back on the lead lap. Ragan is the 11th place car. Denny Hamlin trying to stay on the lead lap. He is the 10th place car, and he's about to go one down.
Well, those numbers, Larry, are pretty solid numbers, and I can't imagine we're not going to have at least one more caution flag. It just has that feel to it to me.
Ragan shoots through. He's back on the lead lap. And Hamlin, who's won the last 2 Sprint Cup races here, goes one lap down.
Yeah, Darrell, we're closing in on 100 laps since we had that last caution. And all of a sudden now these drivers are being told 25 laps to go. They try to get up on that wheel a little bit more, get a little extra, get yourself in trouble.
So second place Matt Kenseth can make it all the way. So can third place Clint Bowyer. Carl Edwards in 6th, Marcus Ambrose in 7th, Paul Menard in 8th, Greg Biffle in 9th, David Ragan in 10th, Earnhardt Jr. in 11th. They can all go the distance should we stay green. There's the interval, and you see Kenseth cutting it down.
Yeah, right now Matt Kenseth is in his own zip code as we see Denny Hamlin in 11 hit pit road for what might be his final stop.
Kenseth is just running 30.99. Kurt Busch out there running 31.60.
0.6 of a second. The leader is giving up to the second place car. And it's all going to come down to when or if the next caution falls. Hamlin scoots away, and he'll fall 2 laps down to at least 18th position. We know that Stewart and Jeff Gordon can make it without another stop, having stopped back on lap 276 and 7. And Jeff Gordon now just 1 lap down.
Let me put this in perspective for our fans at home. Here comes the 22 car off of turn 4 now, and he will be at the line now. Now let's wait and see when Matt's find Kenseth back here. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He's at the line now. That's the lead that 22 car has.
It's a little more than a third of a lap, or half a mile.
And that's the reference that drivers like for you to use when you're chasing somebody down or somebody's out there. You don't really want to hear about 5, 6, 10. So you want to hear, where is he now? And the line is our reference point.
23 laps to go. Kenseth has closed to within 11 seconds. You saw the leader. And that black number 17 Ford is the second place car of Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, fuel-wise, Kurt Busch, the 22 car, they should be able to go another 8 to 10 laps as far as fuel.
Some of these drivers need 1 more pit stop before the checker, and so do we. Kurt Busch leads Matt Kenseth by 11 seconds. In Texas, Kurt Busch is the leader, but Matt Kenseth is on giddy-up go. Kenseth has cut the margin down now to 9.2 seconds. And we are very sure that Kurt Busch is going to have to make 1 more pit stop for fuel.
I would say in the next 2 to 3 to 4 laps, we'll see him on pit road.
Yeah, I'm usually the optimist. I'm usually the guy that says, oh, he can make it, but even I don't think the 22 can make it tonight.
You won't see any of these fellows back on pit road. Biffle, Ambrose, and Menard as they battle for 6th on back. Now here is Brad Keselowski, the leader's teammate, on pit road for his final stop. But in the last sequence, he stopped 2 laps ahead of Kurt Busch. That may well play out the same way here.
They've been pretty close together all night long.
Steve Addington, Kurt Busch's crew chief, a proven winner. See how this strategy turns out for them tonight.
I think he just held one finger up, meaning they're going to go about one more lap, which would be 2 laps after his teammate Brad Keselowski made his green flag stop.
Larry, I've been really surprised. The pace this race has been run at, hard as these guys are racing tonight, no engine failures that I'm aware of. I don't recall seeing anybody go to the garage with an engine problem. It's a real tribute to the engines and the guys that build them.
One bad crash tonight, the one that took Martin Truex, Mark Martin and Regan Smith out of the race. Otherwise pretty much trouble free. And here's the race leader. Kurt Busch comes to pit road for his final stop with 13 laps to go. This will hand the lead to Matt Kenseth. And here's Matt Yoakum.
A nice entry into his box. Mike, they told him do not slide the tires because the game plan is just right side tires only. They only need 1 can of fuel, and he's away.
Busch drops to 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Andy Lally comes in, and Kyle Busch comes in to make his final stop.
And remember, he could go a little further because he had to make that unscheduled stop from the last time because he had to come back for a loose wheel.
They took 2 tires. I guess they needed that much fuel, but I don't know if I wouldn't have shot some fuel in that thing and got it back out there.
Steve?
And Kyle Busch off pit road, he just said, fix me up so I'm not tight in the corners and I'll make a run at him.
You got to wonder what might have been for Tony Stewart had he not been too fast entering the pits when he came in to make that stop when they stretched their fuel mileage. Stewart might be the leader of this race instead of being 15 seconds behind.
Yeah, 15 seconds. Think about that penalty, the drive-through penalty. That cost him a lot more than 15 seconds. But right now he's sitting in 3rd. This is a battle for 5th place with Paul Menard in the 27, Greg Biffle in the 16, 11 laps to go.
And if Biffle clears Menard, he's only another second behind his teammate Carl Edwards. But Menard is holding tough for a top 5 finish tonight.
Menard's done a nice job. That team has really been on a roll.
Clint Bowyer's led 44 circuits tonight. 8 seconds back of Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, Clint Bowyer's looking for one of 2 things, a caution or the end of the race, because he's 8 seconds behind Matt Kenseth, 7 seconds in front of Tony Stewart. This is a battle with 3 drivers, though, for 8th spot.
Biffle keeps working over Menard to break into the top 5. And on the right, Reagan trying to hold off Earnhardt Jr. and his teammate Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, with 9 laps to go here, it's tightening up all the way around the racetrack for every position.
And this is where you're prone to get that caution we were talking about.
Trying a little too hard.
Matt Kenseth's lead over Bowyer, 7.8 seconds. He has won here before, but Dick Berggren, he's also had heartbreaks here.
Yeah, he's had heartbreaks here twice. He was passed with the lead with 1 to go in the spring of 2007. Jeff Burton won that one. And in the fall of 07 with 3 to go, Jimmy Johnson passed for the lead and wound up winning the race. So no doubt Kenseth has his eye on the mirror because all night long he has worried about Clint Bowyer, who is now in 2nd.
Thanks, Dick. This 5th place battle won't quit. Finally, Biffle gets to use Bobby Labonte as a pick, run Menard a little bit up the hill, and take over 5th place.
Here comes 05 time. He just got by Dale Jr. there. That's a race for position. Now he's going after our pole setter up there. 48 car coming on strong here in these final few laps.
You know what? Strong top 10 run tonight for David Reagan. Just what he needed.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Following a top 10 finish at Martinsville last week. The Roush Fenway, all 4 drivers in that top 8 right now. Great night for that camp.
Robbie Gordon just ahead of Matt Kenseth. Bowyer eating into his lead, but not significantly, not with only 6 laps to go. I think the fight's going to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's going to be Stewart, Edwards, and Biffle.
You know, that's tightening up pretty good here with just a few laps to go.
And we're riding with Kurt Busch in the 22 car, who made that green flag stop. As Darrell made note, only 2 right side tires. Kurt's still on the lead lap, back in 11th, but he's only about 6 seconds out in front of our leader, Matt Kenseth, with 5 to go.
But when we heard him earlier in the race, Larry, you would have thought he would be lucky to even be on the lead lap, let alone racing for a top 10 finish.
And the closer, Kevin Harvick, 2 laps down, 22nd. It won't be 3 in a row for Harv. Kind of lonely guy out there in his Budweiser Chevy.
Well, I think when you look at the fact that he qualified 29th, he had issues on pit road, not of his making the first 2 stops of the race. He's just never really truly been able to overcome it.
Sort of avoided disaster back there with the Mark Martin wreck with the Truex. He got through that. That was luck.
Tony Stewart, his mirror is beginning to fill up with Carl Edwards. Edwards started outside pole, won from the pole in last night's race, and was considered the man to beat here by many. But here is Carl fighting for 3rd place with Stewart.
I think Carl's had a lot of issues tonight. Car didn't handle real good for him, and then he got sick there early in the race. He's overcome a lot to get a top 5 tonight.
3 laps to go, and Matt Kenseth still 8 seconds ahead of Clint Boyer. Stewart and Edwards, Biffle and Menard 3rd through 6th. Then 7th and 8th, Ambrose and Reagan will fight that out with Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, right now this man's just counting laps.
Nope.
It's all he got, you know, he just lets this thing run down, no caution.
Behind him, we're going to have some good battles to the flag.
Well, yeah, Matt Kenseth knows as we're coming to 2 laps to go, if he sees that white flag, that all he has to do is make that last lap, because we'll have us a race then.
He won here in 2002. He's had 11 top 10s here, 8 top 5s. And he's finished top 5 3 of the last 4 Texas races.
So you might want to update those statistics on the caution flags within the last 20-some laps.
We'll be back here in a year.
Maybe it has. Maybe it's because it's a night race. That changed everything.
Put a little exclamation point.
That's right, little exclamation point. Here we go.
White flag coming for Carl Edwards. Boyer all alone in 2nd. Kenseth out front. Boyer all alone in 2nd.
I think there's some cars running out of gas here, Larry. I see the 24 slow down the back.
He was one of the cars that was trying to stretch the fuel a lap more than Stewart.
And Stewart's out. Edwards passes him.
Yep, Stewart's out of gas.
But here comes Matt Kenseth.
He's not out of gas.
For Roush Fenway Racing. What a night for Kenseth. He will win the Samsung Mobile 500. 8 seconds back. Clint Boyer is going to finish 2nd. And the battle evaporated between Stewart and Edwards when Stewart ran out of gas. Edwards is going to have to hold off Biffle, and does. Then Menard. Then Ambrose, 3 car lengths ahead of David Reagan, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And Kurt Busch got a top 10 finish out of that 22 car. And there you see Tony Stewart out of gas.
Sort of reminiscent of New Hampshire at the end of last year.
Stewart finishes 12th, last car on the lead lap. Matt Kenseth scores his first win in the last 77 races, not since Auto Club Speedway, February 2009, has he driven to victory lane. It's the 8th win here for Roush Fenway. And Matt becomes the 6th different winner in 7 races this year. He gets a bonus point for winning and another bonus point for leading the most laps tonight, 169 of them. Who had Kenseth in the pool?
No one.
Some nights are like that.
We all said we should. Every one of us said we should
have picked Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth takes the checkered flag by 8.3 seconds over Clint Boyer. More NASCAR on Fox coming right up.
From the Great American Speedway here in Texas, and Matt Kenseth, a lifelong Packer fan, celebrating an end to a 76 race winless streak. His Packers won, what, about 30 miles from here in Super Bowl 45 in February when they took the Super Bowl title on Fox from the Steelers. Let's get down there. Steve Burns was watching the celebration.
Well, Matt Kenseth, when you came across the start-finish line and took the checkered flag, I heard you tell the guys, thanks, guys. I didn't know if I was going to win one again.
Man, I mean, I've said that after every win, but especially after over 2 years, I didn't know if I'd ever have a chance to get here again. So really want to thank Jimmy and this whole team for working as hard as they do in this pit crew, and really Crown Royal Black, Sprint, Gatorade, and the fans up there. I mean, gosh, you had a packed house tonight, and probably wasn't the closest finish for them, but it was great racing all night, and Ford Motor Company as well.
Matt, in your mind, what was the key to winning this race?
Being in front. I mean, a couple times we got behind a little bit. It took a while to get in the front, so we were short on fuel, and because of the tire situation, how much time you could gain on tires, we got lucky, and when we pitted, it forced the field to pit. So that was the key in long runs, and I also need to thank the Lord. I've been so blessed in my life, and got a beautiful family and a great team. I do what I love for a living, and I'm really thankful for that.
Congratulations, Matt. Thank you. Let's go back to Chris Myers.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, February, Matt and his wife giving birth to Grace Catherine Kenseth, and of course also the same month his Packers winning the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Clint Bowyer, who led 44 laps tonight, as Jack Roush, the Cat in the Hat, celebrates with Matt Kenseth. Bowyer could have been a lot worse. He led, as we said, made a nice save here at these high speeds on the Texas Motor Speedway, and our Chris Devoda spoke with the second place finisher tonight.
Well, an amazing save and his best finish at Texas, but I would imagine you go to bed tonight thinking, that cowboy hat would have looked good on me.
Yeah, dang it. You know, that was my fault, totally my fault. You come up on them lappers and they hold you up so bad. Matt started to catch me and I was pressing, trying to get around him. He gave me room. I just slid up and got into him. Man, I thought it was going to end our day completely, but really proud of Shane Wilson, everybody on this Cheerios Hamburger Helper Chevrolet, everybody that is involved with this program, BB&T, SKF, Menards, Chevrolet, everybody. You know, we're trying to get some more sponsorship for the end of the year for this thing, but all the spots aren't filled, and hopefully good runs like that will get the job done.
Good run indeed. Third top 10, this one a top 5 for Clint Bowyer.
Thanks, Krista and Clint. So earlier in the year, Jeff Gordon, as we welcome you inside the Hollywood Hotel with Jeff Hammond. Chris Myers, thanks for being with us for NASCAR on Fox. 66 races, and we saw Jeff Gordon in that streak, and now 76 for Matt Kenseth. Was steady, didn't make a lot of mistakes, and as you heard him say, I wondered if he'd ever get back to victory lane. Did a nice job tonight.
Well, they've been doing such a good job of just being very meticulous all year long, making good solid runs. Jimmy Phoenix making good calls on pit road. But the thing I think is more impressive, when you take a look at the top 10, 7 Fords in those top 10s. It looks like the Roush Fenway group, along with the engine department with the FR9 engine, is really putting out the kind of power on these bigger racetracks and starting to show for our early part of this 2011 season.
Roush Fenway Ford, Carl Edwards was in one of those as he wound up third. Had some interesting things to say about battling the upset stomach all night with our Matt Yoka.
What an impressive run by Carl Edwards. How do you stay focused in that race car when you're dealing with a health issue?
I'm all hopped up on Pepto-Bismol. I hate to throw my mom under the bus, but she cooked a little something last night that I don't think was too good. And I think we chose the wrong package. Bob and I were just talking about it. I feel good now, but Matt and those guys did a great job. Congratulations to them. Got to thank Scott's Easy Seat, Aflac, Ford. I mean, that's a Ford sweep. You know, Matt and those guys are running like they should be running. And the great thing is we know what he's got in his car, and I'm excited to go to the next one. This Darlington's going to be good.
Carl Edwards, third.
Thanks, Matt and Carl. And he's your new points leader. We'll check on the points. We have our 6th different winner in 7 races so far this year. More interviews, more on Tony Stewart running out of fuel at the end in a race he could have won when we continue. NASCAR on Fox welcomes you back live to Texas, and aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. To get the most sports in HD, call 1-800-DirecTV. The turnout from the fans tonight saw 31 lead changes. Tony Stewart had the lead with 58 laps to go. A gamble on fuel mileage, caught speeding on pit road. That's what happened to Jimmy Johnson last week, and he knew it. And we hope to be hearing from Tony. He wanted to catch his breath before commenting, as Matt Kenseth took advantage. He dominated tonight, getting the 6 shooters from track president Eddie Gossage and the cowboy hat. Matt Kenseth leading 169 laps. That's more tonight than he led in all of the races last year combined. And Jeff, as we take a look at the unofficial results, your official comments, with Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishing 9th, Jimmy Johnson still looking for that first win of the year, 8th.
Yeah, but these guys are running strong. I mean, when you look at Greg Biffle, Paul Menard, Marcus Ambrose, they needed this kind of solid run along with David Reagan.
Tony Stewart wound up 12th. Trevor Bayne, who will be running at Talladega, 17th. That's his best finish since the Daytona 500. And Kevin Harvick had some early pit road problems. No 3 in a row for him.
No, they struggled tonight. They really had a hard time, along with, you see back there in 23rd, Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano. He's very lucky he had that good a solid run after having an accident on pit road.
And we did not have the engine problems that we thought we would have tonight. There was some wind, some issues there.
Yeah, speaking of issues, how about Martin Truex Jr., another big wreck tonight, just like at Martinsville, along with Mark Martin.
And Martin Truex able to walk away. Let's get some final thoughts from Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. This race kind of had it all. A lot of side-by-side racing and a lot of strategy. Kurt Busch tried to stretch it, had to make a late stop. Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon were both all in, and both ran out of gas on the last lap. These things will happen when you run the last 93 laps under the green flag.
Well, this was a great night not to have any problems, because it seemed like a lot of the front runners, guys that we would expect to be up there challenging for top 5s and top 10s, they either shot themselves in the foot or they made a mistake that cost them positions, and certainly running out of fuel was big at the end for Tony Stewart.
And you know, the thing about it, Jeff touched on it when we looked at that top 10. When I look at Paul Menard, when I look at Marcus Ambrose, and our pole sitter David Reagan, yeah, they finished in the top 10, and you may go, well, was that something to do with strategy? Absolutely not. Those 3 drivers were up there in the top 5, the top 10 most of the night. I think that's 3 names we're going to see up there a lot in 2011.
Well, Matt Kenseth maximized his resources, as we talked at the top of the show, and his Killer Bees had the quickest stops all night long, keeping him out in front of the pack, regardless of what other strategy played out. Chris?
And guys, Jeff, let's take a look at the points now as we head to Talladega before the break for Easter. And as we mentioned, every week we've had a different leader in points. Kyle Busch came in with a narrow lead, but Carl Edwards has that spot. Now Junior keeps inching up closer. He's 6th now.
Closer and closer, but right now it looks to me like it's going to be a dogfight. It looks like for these 4, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth against Kyle Busch, and Jimmy Johnson 5-time himself.
That Matt Kenseth jump, he gained 6 spots, and since the Daytona 500, the last 6 races, Matt Kenseth has worked his way up 28 spots. So there's a lot of room there. Jeff Gordon, a rough night for him points-wise. He does have that win in the bag.
Yeah, he has that. That's the one thing that's kind of be somewhat of a salvation for him. He's got that early win, and that might be all he needs to be able to make the chase this year.
Your thoughts on the strategy tonight? You heard the guys in the booth touch on that. I guess it's one thing to map that out and say this is what we want to do. It's another thing to execute it. A veteran like Matt Kenseth was able to pull that off, where Tony Stewart, who knew he was guilty speeding on pit road, could not.
You do what you have to do, and I mean, I think Darian Grubb did a great job. We've been needing him to kind of show some leadership and get this 14 car back going the right direction. They couldn't help that, Tony made that mistake, but they had the right game plan to challenge Matt Kenseth for that win. But for Matt, him and Jimmy Finnick, they had it all figured out.
Everybody's got the cowboy hat on except Jeff Hammond. Where's your hat? We have more to come from Texas, and we're waiting on Tony Stewart, so don't go away.